The final countdown to the final day, guys. It's day 5. You made it. Go to the chat box and give me a word or two or three to describe the week that you have had. We're not done, by the way. We are so not done. The next 2 hours are some of my favorite content, my favorite teaching that I have for you guys. But I want to know what you think so far. Let's see. Do we get a cap and count? Eye opening, amazing, a lot. I will take that. Pumped. Let's go. Mind-numbingly exciting. I love. Yeah. I that. Why does that make so much sense, Brandon? Absolutely. Hey, everybody. I'm very excited to share with you guys tonight all about sales and conversion. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into like what do you do now that you've booked all these consultations? Like, now what? I'll show you how to convert those to cash. And then I have lots of great, like practical, tactical stuff that I've learned over the last couple of years about working with vendors, growing it into a bigger business, like handling those consultations in a way that really like brings that cash back into the house as quickly as possible, because that's the thing that's going to keep you going. But before we get into that, a couple of things. I want to invite, I know we had a couple of people who wanted to share some takeaways yesterday. We can do like 2 or 3 more. I would love to hear, now that we're at the final countdown, go ahead and raise your hand. What is the thing that you're walking away from, like the biggest lesson so far, the biggest aha, anything you want to share from the last 5 days that we've spent together? I want to hear all about it. So I'll take 2 or 3 folks and then we'll have to jump. And I do want to say congratulations very quickly. There are 9 people who have actually joined the private one-on-one inner circle program. So congratulations to those guys. That means that there are 3 spots left. I can take 2 or 3 folks. I don't know if you were one of the folks who yesterday didn't get to share your takeaway. I don't see any hands up yet, but if you guys want to share, I'm happy to do that. Anybody who has some kind of burning comment, I would love, love, love. Okay, let's go to Peggy. My favorite person in the world. My aunt is named Peggy. That's a great name. Hi, Peggy Powell. How are you?
Hi. Well, I like my name too because I love my husband.
What's your big aha takeaway?
So I have to tell you, I just recently had a birthday. Christmas is my birthday, and I see a few folks that they might be same age or older than, and I have to say I'm really pleased because I'm not as um, dumb as I was thinking I was when it came to the oh my God, I see what my husband was talking about. I got makeup coming down. um, uh, that I actually do understand the tech part
Right.
more than I thought I did. And I have to tell you, I really appreciate you giving us kudos during this training to remind us, you're just overwhelmed. You're not,
Yeah.
you know, take a breath and breathe.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think like if I were to boil it down to one sentence, we have to separate new from difficult, because
Hmm.
everything new sort of like pretends to be difficult for a second, but MLS
Yes.
was difficult. The first time when you were a baby realtor and had to do that for the first time for the loan
Yeah.
officers, I'm sure desktop underwriting made you want to run under the covers and hide and never do this again. And then you went back the next day and you figure it out. And it's just like this too. And we are dealing with a really powerful system. It's absolutely true. But the good thing is it's the one that's built for the rest of us. And once you get
Mhm.
into webinar CRM, man, Peggy, I want you to launch the webinar funnel. And then I want you to go in there and ask yourself, like, hey, what else can this thing do? You could go in there,
Oh,
sell
yeah.
coaching, create like lead magnets, like all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's been mind blowing for me. And I feel like a really good marketer. And I want you to have that experience too. So thank you for
Oh,
sharing
me
that.
too. So does my husband. He's like, go
Retire him early. There you go. Let's go to Howard. That was awesome. What's up, Howard?
How are you, sir?
Good. What's your big
Good.
aha?
So my big aha is the fact that we can market on the internet
Mhm.
and attract people
Yeah.
instead of chasing people.
Yeah. Right.
I think that's, any type of internet marketing I've ever done before, it's get a name and a number and then chase,
Yeah.
chase, chase,
Yeah.
chase, chase,
Yeah.
and you get frustrated and you give
Yeah.
up. So I'm excited to be able to do a webinar, have people want to talk to me, let me share my knowledge with them, and it allows us to help a lot more people.
I love that. And, I was talking to somebody about this today and I said, I think that cold callers, and, I was a cold caller for a long time. So I'm talking about me, right? I think what happened over the last 10 years is we've always been pests, but I think we've transitioned in the mind of the public to actual menace. And I think that like there's nothing that turns somebody off faster than being interrupted. And it was our only trick. Now it's not anymore. Now we got better. Thank you, Harold. That was awesome.
I've never been a cold caller, and I hate getting them, and I hate doing
it. Yeah, I hate it. I was never good at it. Let's go to Mary Lou. That was great. What's up, Mary Lou? It should pop up and ask you to unmute, hon. Let's see. I'll hit it one more time. Did it work? It should pop up and ask you to unmute. There it is. I got you. What's up, Mary Lou?
Finally unmute. It would not unmute. It clearly didn't want me to talk, but that's fine. I'll talk anyway. First of all, I'd just like to say that this is my second time through because I was like a deer in the headlights the first time around. And I thought, I can't do this. And I've actually been working on all the steps with the wonderful Tuesday Thursday group. And I thought, I'm just going to go through this one more time.
Yeah.
I think I will get it. And
right.
Your enthusiasm is so infectious that I've discovered, first of all, that I actually have a Facebook business page.
Fantastic.
Didn't know I had one.
Good.
So, but I've gotten further along, and I think actually my optimistic date of February to do my first webinar, I think is, I may move it up a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But it's just really exciting. Super
Fantastic.
Exciting.
I want to hear all about it. Jim and Todd, I tell you what, if you guys will hang out, I'll take you guys in Q&A. We're going to have a supersized Q&A. Would love to hear what you guys have to share. We're going to have to jump into our teaching. But just to kind of validate that, Mary Lou, FYI, this is a great time to advertise because it's when some of the cheapest leads come through. All of that money that was shoved into the Facebook advertising system over Black Friday and the Christmas holiday and stuff, it's out of the system. And so now the cost per lead drops. So my cost per lead went down like probably 35% from 2 weeks ago. So FYI, it's a sign. As in Texas, we have a saying, make hay while the sun's shining. So let's go. All right, guys, I love this. We are going to go ahead and jump in. Here's how I want to open us tonight because we have lots of different stuff that we're going to go over. But before we get into all of it, I want to remind everyone why we're here. Yes, we're all here to make some more money, right? And we're all here to do it using attraction instead of chasing. But our job as real estate agents and mortgage pros is to help people. I could have left the rest of that sentence off. Yes, we help people buy or sell their homes, but our job is to help them move from one stage to the other. And sometimes it's the pleasure of, transforming a renter, an anxious renter into a confident homeowner. And sometimes it's just making the process of divorce suck a little bit less, right? Our job as real estate and mortgage pros is to help people. And the more deals that we close, the more people whom we're intervening with, the more people that we are helping. And so without the marketing and the webinar funnel that we have built, I would have missed out on helping so many people, so many stories with people finding their homes. Now, these are just a couple of folks who I've helped since launching Zoom webinars. I won't tell you the whole story because we don't have time, but suffice it to say, Buddy and Rocio on the left, they were very skeptical when they came into the webinar. Buddy didn't think that they were going to be able to find a house that he could be proud of for the budget that they had. If you could zoom out from the picture that you see right now, they've got about a 3,000 square foot castle that they were able to qualify for. And so he sits up a little bit straighter in his chair. Some of my favorite clients are on the right. This is Peter and Esther. So Peter and Esther migrated here from Nigeria. And six years ago, they migrated here, from Nigeria 6 years ago. They watched what we have on American television as children, and they worked their butts off, scratched and clawed, did all of the things that they needed to do to get over here, did it all the right way, and now Peter works for the state. They were renting over and over again, and it was one night when Esther saw the ad for the webinar. She came to the webinar. Peter knew nothing about it. Esther booked a call with me and then told Peter, hey, we're going to talk to this guy on Saturday morning. Peter's a smart man, so he said, yes, ma'am. So we went from Tuesday on the webinar to Saturday morning for the call. And then what happened was that he was still like in the background. And he's like, hey, ask him this. Like he wasn't bought in yet. And I said, hey, Esther puts Peter on the speakerphone. And so I found out he had a misunderstanding about property taxes. I cleared that up. That was at our call at 11:30. At 12:15, he said, hey, can we go look at houses today? So we moved some things around. They sent me this picture at 3:45 when they found their dream home, 5-day turnaround, and they all left us a testimonial that'll bring you to tears, right? It's all about like getting out there and impacting more people. Using this system, you're going to be able to exponentially help more people as well. Now, here we are, day 5. It's not just a victory lap. It's not just graduation day. It is all about sales and conversion. You've done all of the hard work, and now those consultations are coming in, by the dozen. What are you going to do now, right? So how do you maximize the number of appointments the day after your webinar, get all of the juice out of that webinar, and make sure that you are protecting your ROI, maximizing your ROI. We're also going to talk about how to conduct those webinar appointments themselves, and then how to turn those appointments into deals a lot faster. Plus, we've got a lot of teaching about how to partner up with other people on the transaction, different vendors, realtors partnering with lenders, and vice versa. I've got some very practical, tactical advice for you guys there so that you can sort of make your project more durable by having other people contribute to the lead budget, for example, right? Okay. Now, the challenge, as a reminder, will be recorded for VIP members. You can still upgrade to VIP if you have decided today that you want to get those recordings and also those 5 presentation templates. You go to school, you go to classroom, and then VIP experience to knock to join. Excuse me, my voice is giving out again. Now, give us a little bit of grace. We have to take the video down. It'll give us about 1 hour to 2 hours tonight to get that video encoded and re-uploaded to the training platform, and then you'll have your complete videos. Today, we're going to be going over sales and conversion, how to get all of the juice out of those consultations. We're going to try to leave room for a supersized Q&A as well. So with that in mind, let's get started. Now, in the past week, we have demonstrated the ROI calculator and how hyper profitable real estate and mortgage webinars can be for your business when you do them the right way. We've taught you how to build your landing page. That's the front end to your funnel. We've also taught you how to build those reminder sequences to optimize your webinar attendance rate and make sure that you have a really full room every time. How to deliver an educational webinar to wow your attendees, cue the laughs, cue the tears, and then how to get the most number of attendees to book themselves on your calendar using that perfect close formula. We also taught you how to fill the room, partially with some free methods to kind of bolster those numbers, but mostly with that big paid scalable strategy. How do you run those paid Facebook and Instagram ads the right way, like Mo showed you how to yesterday, okay? So I know it's been a lot. You signed up for a challenge. I think we made it challenging, good, right there at the level of like, kind of intense, but that was the goal, right? Because we wanted to give you as much as possible in our time together, in our limited time. Now, the last piece of making this machine work is sales. So we've done a lot of work on marketing, right? And the technology behind marketing. Now it's about the people. Once we've created that appointment, it's your baby. And so now we have to learn how to sell. It goes from marketing to sales again. I'm going to show you how to do these appointments in a way that converts the most number of them possible. The thing that's cool about webinar appointments is that they have a massively higher show-up rate than any other appointment than you are going to create. So I told you guys I ran all of those Google PPC ads toward my property search sites for years and years. I probably had about a 70% show up rate until COVID. And I don't know, tell me in the chat box if you agree with this. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, that's fine. But I think something happened with manners and respect and human decency after COVID, because people will ghost you at the drop of a hat. Tell me, if you've been in the game for a while, tell me if you saw something different in the last few years. Our like low intent lead appointments that we would book from those kind of crappy ads to the search traffic, our yes, true. Okay, 100%. Okay, Trevor, I'm not imagining it. Okay, good. So we have seen that those traditional lead generation and appointments tactics have no more than a 50 to 60% show up rate. In fact, in the business that I still co-own, last year they were running some of those ads and they had a 45% show up rate. Isn't it crazy? Just no show, no call, don't call you. But webinar appointments, in my experience, have about an 85% show up rate. Now, if somebody's going to move the appointment, they're going to text you and they're going to say, hey, here's what's going on. Can I reschedule? So they're more communicative. Stuff still comes up, right? And then I've got a tactic that will help to boost that up to about 90% that I'll share with you here in just a moment. Now, not only do they show up, but they trust and respect you. I have asked you guys to write this down about 5 times over the course of the challenge. And the reason that I keep going back to this is because I didn't get it at first. I didn't appreciate it. I thought I was booking a consultation on my calendar that then I was going to have to close and convert and do my LP Mama song and dance and sell. It didn't occur to me until I was doing webinars for a while. They already think you're awesome. Write that down if you have not already. Underline it 3 times. They already think you're awesome. The webinar, remember, was the lead magnet, but it was also that conversion tool. So it did the heavy lifting for you. You don't have to go in there with any kind of like fancy script. We're going to tell you what to say here in a moment. But the cool thing is that you can relax and have a real conversation. They already think you're awesome. They think that they trust you. They think that they like you, and they're ready to do whatever you tell them to do. The webinar appointments are going to be the highest quality appointment that you're able to produce at scale. Now, let's talk about how to get even more juice out of these. If you want to book more appointments than just the ones that booked from your webinar, here's what you can do. Now, let me give you a caveat here. If you never want to make an outbound phone call again in prospecting of any kind, then you don't have to do this, okay? This is just laying it on thick to make sure that you don't leave any appointments on the table. What you can do, though, is if you are after the day after the webinar, if you'll book like an hour or 2, let's say 10 or 11 in the morning the next day, you can block that off on your calendar so that nobody books on top of it. And then you can sit there and call the people who attended but did not book. And it's very, very easy. You go like this. Hey, ring, ring. This is Bradley Pounds. I was the host of the webinar last night. Hey, listen, I wanted to first of all say thank you so much for coming. Second of all, I know we had quite a few people and quite a few questions. I want to make sure that you guys got your question answered. What was the biggest thing that you guys were hoping to learn last night, and did I deliver on that? And then they'll say what they're going to say. And then you can say, hey, just out of curiosity, I noticed that you didn't book an appointment. Is there any particular reason that you didn't take me up on that offer to kind of hang out on the phone and tell me what that home run would look like? And what they're going to say, what they're going to say. Does anybody want to guess? If you've been in my class today or before today, don't spoil the answer if you already know it. But somebody take a guess who doesn't already know the answer. What is the number one reason that you think they say, here's why I didn't book an appointment? What do you think they say is the number one reason? Busy? They thought it wasn't free? I don't know what that means, Anna Marie. Don't have the money. I had no time. Bad credit. We're not ready. I haven't seen it yet. No. Do you know what the number one reason? These are all good, by the way. These all make sense. They're all normal objections, right? The number one reason that people are going to tell you that they didn't book an appointment is because they didn't want to bother you. They're going to say, I know I've got a couple of things that I wanted to work on. I was going to call you back in a month or 2. I didn't want to take up your time because, and it's mind-blowing because how different is that from what that lead says that you've been chasing from the internet who doesn't know or respect you? Here's the thing. Go back to what I asked you to underline. They already think you're awesome. You're a real person to them. You're not some disembodied sales voice who's calling and bugging them. You're real, and they respect you because they got to spend an hour with you. You were in their living room last night. You just didn't know it. And so FYI, if you make these calls, a lot of times some of your best, most respectful clients are waiting because they didn't book an appointment. It's totally worth making a few of those dials, and you'll get lots of love and compliments, and it feels really good. Okay. All right. We've closed many deals from calling that list that most people forget about. So if you have the ability to do that, please do. Now, pro tip, before an appointment, you can actually have them fill out a simple qualification form. So here's what I do. Write this down. You can put it in different places in the process, but remember that calendar booking tool? Remember how they go and they put their name and they're going to choose the date? Well, you can customize that form. So you can make all of these answers required. You can make them put their name in and all that stuff. But then you can create some drop-down questions. So it's like, hey, where do you think your credit is? And you can make them choose between one of 3 credit answers. If it's sellers, then will all decision makers be on the call? Yes or no? Do you have more than 10% equity? Yes or no. Whatever you want to know going into that call, you can do. So I ask about credit, I ask about income, and I ask, what else do I ask? Oh, I think about what their timeline is. And so I have somebody who helps me, who handles the bulk of the appointments. If I jump in and handle appointments because we have a lot of them, guess which ones I'm going to handle? I'm going to make sure that if I'm going to actually put my butt in the chair and talk to people, that I'm going to cherry pick those appointments and give him basically all of the rest. So you never don't know what you're walking into if you use that form, and you can customize that inside your webinar CRM. Now, if they fill out the form, they have a 90% plus chance of showing up, okay, or being communicative if they do need to reschedule. All right, let's talk about how to conduct the appointment. So phone or Zoom? Let's put a big stack of weapons in the middle of the room and have this fight right now. I'm kidding. So what do you do when you have that consultation booked? Do you just call them on the phone, or do you want to set another Zoom appointment? Because you can set the calendar booking software to direct them in either direction. Which one is better? The answer is that there's not a really clear answer, but there are pros and cons to both. I will share what I have observed, and then you can make a good decision based on your business realities, okay? So what do we think is good about the phone? Everybody go tell me, argue the phone, argue in favor of the phone. Why would we say quick and easy, okay? So there's not a whole lot of friction, right? Okay, I can keep my PJs on. That's actually a big one. So like even in 2026, people are uncomfortable being on video. Okay, so if you make the appointment a phone appointment, you will get more appointments. It's true, because there's less friction around being on video, less friction around that process. Plus, we all know that it's easier to answer a phone call than download Zoom, all that stuff. Now, what is the case for Zoom? Somebody go to the chat box and tell me what you think might be a good reason to use Zoom. I would be able to show them things on screen. That's right. I'm going to tell you about a lender. Face to face, I can see their expressions. Yep. Zoom feels more personal. Okay, cool. Yeah. Now, here's what I'll tell you my experiences. I want to talk to everyone. So the right choice for my business has been phone appointments. I also have the luxury of having help. Now, if you are someone who's really busy and you are a one-man or one-woman operator and you say, hey, listen, if somebody's going to ghost me and not show up, that's fine, but I want to be able to keep working, right? Then what you could do is you could say, all right, everybody is going to do these appointments on Zoom, and I'll know that the no-show rate is going to be a little bit higher because of the uncomfortability on camera. I know that I'll get a few less appointments, but what I'm counting on there is that the quality of the appointment will be higher. And I will tell you, if somebody's in the waiting room at 12 o'clock and you see they turn their camera on immediately and they've got their headphones on, that's probably more often than not a pretty committed prospect. And so it's a quality versus a quantity play. Yeah. Don't forget to ask for referrals. I know that's a little bit off topic. I'll teach you guys. Somebody hold me accountable in Q&A. I don't have a slide about that. If I recall, I don't think I've created that yet, but that was a big aha for me late in the game. So somebody make a note and ask me about that in Q&A. I'll tell you how I do it and how I get those. So we've got 2 referrals on Tuesday. I got to find out with Antonio what came of it. But with those, they're usually pretty slam dunk. You'll want to approach this call. Now we're on the consultation, whether it's Zoom or whether it is on the phone. Here's my recommendation to you. You want to approach this call like you're talking to a friend. This is kind of a style point. I'm giving you the way that I do it because it's been very successful for me. I'm going to show you a different way that a different type of practitioner does it here in just a moment, and you can kind of choose the approach that's the best for you. What I have found works the best is if I approach this call I remember those international coffee commercials, and it's the 2 ladies and they're sitting on the couch and it's a rainy window and they're in sweaters, that's what I like to think about this. I want to feel like I'm sitting on the couch having a cup of coffee with my friend because I want them to spill their guts, right? But I'm also very relationship driven. And so when I get on there, here's my fancy script. You don't need a script. You don't need an LP Mama. Here's what I say. It's some version of this. Hey, this is Bradley Pounds. I was the host of the webinar the other night. I've got us on the schedule to chat for a bit, and they usually interrupt me mid-sentence and go, yeah, I've been waiting on this call. They usually pick up on the first ring, by the way. So, because they're excited, they're waiting for this. This is an appointment for them. And I'll say, okay, well, thanks for making some time for me. I'm excited to, kind of talk this through with you. Before we start talking about all the nerdy house stuff, though, I really just want to know who Angie is. Tell me the whole story. And literally, if you ask somebody to tell you about themselves, like I've never had anybody go deer in the headlights on me. They always spill their guts. And why do I want to do this? We know that it makes them think that I'm more awesome if I ask them to talk about themselves. And also, I do want to hear the backstory. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from kind of that general discovery phase here in just a moment to asking some questions that really vet the opportunity. But buy me a drink first. Do you understand? I'm talking to you high D personalities who just want to start asking about their credit. They like you, they respect you, they trust you, but you do have to kind of rekindle that conversation for a second because now we're live and it's a different experience. And so it really is important that you show, in my opinion, that you show that you're genuinely interested in them and let them do some talking here. Sometimes I'll use the word home run. Hey, what I really wanted to do is I wanted to hear from you about what the home run solution is going to look like. Where is this house? What does it look like? And what are we talking when it comes to the logistics like down payment and monthly payment that would really make this feel like a home run for you? Talk to me. And so they should be doing about 70% of the talking. If you're kind of a dominant personality, you need to learn to kind of hold back a little bit here, let them do their thing, and then you can jump in with your qualifying questions and then down to brass tacks what our next steps are. But if you're doing more than about 30% of the talking, especially in the first half of the call, you're probably doing it wrong, in my opinion. Now, the person who is asking the questions, though, is in control. So I'm not just letting this person go on and on about like their life story. I am going to ask questions that sort of steer this where I need it to go. Yeah. So this whole home buying thing, why now, Angie? Or who is this for, by the way, Angie? This whole home buying thing, is this just for you, or do we have other people that you're providing for over here? Now, after I introduce myself, I'll say something very generic that's an open-ended question that just says, hey, talk to me. Tell me about what got you to the point to attend this webinar. I gather a lot of good background information, and it's because now they trust me and now they share with me what the big motivators are. If you've never been trained in sales before, you need to collect this stuff, not just as fun, but if you need to basically motivate this person later, I want to know the grandson's name. I want to know the fact that this person had a divorce and is now rebuilding, because if Angie, my client, gets stuck at any point, I need to remind her what her motivators are. Okay. So if you don't find out this stuff, then you don't have a lot of the good information that you need to get her to continue the process and fill out the loan app and stuff like that later. Now, remember that people want to be heard. You've heard that before. I'm going to argue that if you really want to nail this, it's a little bit different. People want to be heard, but they also want to be right. So if you really want to cement that connection with someone, let me tell you how that should go. I'm going to let them talk. I'm going to let them share some things with me, but I also add another step in there, which is I try to affirm them. Listen, home buyers and home sellers, before they ever got to this stage, they've been Googling stuff for a long time. They've been doing their research, right? And whether they did it right and whether they went to reputable sources of information, who knows? But most people don't just like wake up one day and decide that they're going to buy a house and they've never thought about it before. And so what I want to do is I want to affirm this individual for the work that they've done so far. And so, I'll say, hey, what is it that's got you kind of wondering if right now is the right time? And they'll say, well, I really don't want to rent anymore, but I'm really nervous about those interest rates. And I'll go, okay, that's what her objection is. And I'll say, all right, interest rates, talk to me. What do you know, Angie, about interest rates? And she'll say, well, I know that they used to be 3%, and now I know that they're like 7%. And I'll say, okay, fantastic. So Angie, you've been doing some homework here. Have you been like Googling, reading news articles? You've been playing with mortgage calculators. What have you been doing? Because I can tell you've been doing some research. And then she'll share with me and I'll say, hey, listen, I love the fact that you're already on top of this because you're going to be one of the most prepared home buyers. I feel like I can talk to you at a little bit higher of a level. You mentioned the interest rates. Can I tell you where they are right now? And did you know that there's still a way to get you a 3.99 on a home in DFW? Yeah. Now I found out what her issue is, what her challenge is. or objection rather, and I can speak to that thing so that then I can get it the hell out of the room, okay? So that we can help her make a good decision to keep moving forward and not stay stuck. Heard, right, led. If you give someone this, if you make them feel heard and then you make them feel right, you know what happens? It feels so good that then they hand you the steering wheel. Like they got it off of their chest. You didn't make them feel stupid. And in fact, you complimented them. They like the way this feels and they want more of it. And it makes it really easy to tell them what to do in the next step because they now like the way that you are leading them, the direction that you're taking them in. Okay. I'm going to write a book one day called Heard, Right, Led. So start by asking them questions about their goals. We talked about this being in the discovery phase. And then we're going to now transition into kind of getting down to brass tacks. Once you're done with the discovery phase, you can kind of practice these leading phrases and you can go into, okay, here's what we're going to do next. Now, this is where for anybody who knows the DISC assessment, my S's and sometimes my C's or even my I's get a little bit wrapped around the axle here because we love learning about the client. We love the discovery phase. And then we get a little bit kind of nervous whenever it's time to say, now you need to do this. So here's what I want you to do. I just want you to change your words. I want you to remove question marks from this portion of the call. What do I mean by that? I don't want you to ask, okay, now I understand what you need. Would you like to go ahead and get pre-qualified? No, I wouldn't like to get pre-qualified because it's scary and it sounds about as much fun as a root canal. So remove the question mark from your vocabulary for this part of the call. And instead, you are going to lead them with leading phrases, declaratory sentences. You're going to say, here's what we are going to do. Write that down. Here's what we're going to do. The next step is, what we're going to do now is, so periods, not question marks. I have gotten so bold about this where here's what I'll do now. I'll give you a little role play. Okay, so I'll say, all right, so Jim, Pam, I totally understand what it is that you guys are trying to achieve. This is totally doable. I'm excited for you all. So here's what we're going to do next. I know you guys are driving. Jim, I need you to pull the car over, okay? All right, cool. Let me know whenever you're in a safe location. All right, all good? Here's what I've done. I've just texted both of you a link to the lender's loan application. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to spend the next 10 minutes sitting there in the parking lot with the motor running, and you're going to take your finger and you're going to go push that link. Tell me when you've done that. Tell me if it opens up for you. Okay, you see it now? Okay, awesome. So what you're going to do is you're going to fill out these questions. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions. They're very simple. You'll know the answer offhand to all of them. If you don't have access really quickly to like pay stubs and other documents that it's asking you for, don't sweat that because we can get those tomorrow morning, not later, tomorrow morning. Don't worry, we'll get them tomorrow morning. But what you're going to do right now is it's going to take you about 10 minutes. And once you fill out that loan application, you're going to text me back. And once you do that, I'm going to go call the loan officer and we're going to have a conversation to see what's plan A, what's plan B, what's plan C, what programs could you guys qualify for? Can I count on you guys to finish this in the next 10, 12 minutes? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to cut the phone now. You guys finish this, text me, and then we'll regroup here in just a little while after I've got some news for you, okay? Now, I'm not asking you anymore, and here's why. Whether these people realize it or not, and whether you have an appreciation for this, they want to be led at this stage. If you've done it the way that I have shown you to do it, they will be ready to take that next step with you. And so why shrink at this moment and say, well, I'll send you an email with the lender's information. I'll let you guys connect. And then of course it dies. Because it doesn't matter how good of a salesperson you are. You've had about 60 minutes last night on the webinar, 30 minutes of Q&A, 15, 30 minutes on the phone. Okay, so we're up to like 2 hours. They have 40 years of negative self-talk about my mama didn't own a house. We messed up our credit 5 years ago. We're not going to be able to do this or whatever the thing is. And that's no match for that 40 years of negative self-talk. So you have to tell them to do it while they're in the mindset of doing it. Yes. Otherwise, you're just chasing. Yeah, I hope that is helpful for someone. All right, I got a couple of 1 mils. Let's go. Now, I'm going to give you guys some tactics and hacks for mortgage professionals in particular. I have a script here from a guy who does it a little bit differently, who is a mortgage pro in Calgary, Canada. So remember I told you that my mentor is Brad Vanderwall. He's the one that taught me the entire like webinar funnel, the webinar strategy. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I totally get it. I'm going to be good at this if I can get over the speaking fear stuff. And I executed it just like he told me. And then, here we are 2 years later. But his lender is his partner in the whole thing. I'll kind of tell you more a little bit later about their setup. His lender is named Josh Tagg. And Josh is a very if you know the DISC assessment, he's a total C. He's nothing but C, which means like he should be a software engineer in a closet coding computer somewhere. And somehow he became a loan officer, right? So there is no like touchy-feely, cuddly stuff with Josh Tagg. And Josh is very down to brass tacks. And so I'm going to give you his formula here for what he does on his presentation. It's a little bit different than mine. There's not right or wrong. I'm going to argue that most people can't pull this off, and it will be a little bit off-putting to some of your S clients, but he's so confident about it that it works. So for mortgage pros who might want to get down to some numbers really quickly, et cetera, maybe you're just more of a dominant personality. In the webinar, I told you what it takes to get approved. Now, how about I pull back the curtain on how to get approved? And then what Josh does is he does his calls only on Zoom because he wants to be able to immediately go straight to payment estimating. Also, I think in Canada, there's some kind of doc that he needs them to sign. And so it makes it a little bit easier to kind of explain that document, hit DocuSign really quickly, and then continue on with his presentation, is my understanding. And so now he's like payment calculating right there. So what his job is, because he doesn't really like people that much, is he wants to get to, can they do this as quickly as possible? Again, not my style, but also not wrong. So, if you want to be a little bit more brass tacks, keep these appointments, test keeping these appointments as short as possible, then maybe this is the way that you do that and you focus on high quality appointments instead of talking to everyone. Just know that you will have some potential loss there. Now, what's true is that if you've executed the way that I told you, then these folks will hand you the steering wheel. They don't want to think. They want you to lead and tell them what to do next. So don't lose that momentum. Remember, we are not like selling. We are not closing here. They have asked us for help and they have a high trust of you. They are asking you, please get me unstuck. Please pull me out of this situation that I'm in right now. Whether that is, I'm stuck, don't know how to sell mom's house. I'm stuck, I don't know how to become an investor. I'm stuck, I don't know how to transform from a renter into a homeowner. So lead, don't shrink it. Insist on speaking with any potential shadow decision maker. So here, every now and then you're going to get a call. And that call is, let's say it's a husband or it's a wife, and they say, yeah, my spouse wants me to handle this. So it's going to be just me. No, it's not. We're not going to do that. So here's my advice to you. Insist on speaking to any decision maker immediately, right there on the call. You do not let that behavior go on. So decision makers are often spouses, not always. Decision makers can be Daddy Warbucks, who's going to provide the down payment. Okay, so if you talk to someone and you do the little interview with them, and then it turns out that like they don't really have the ability to do this without the help of someone else who's not on the call, then what I'm going to say is okay, Angie, go ahead and dial dad in right now. Don't worry about dad. I got him handled, but I do need to talk to him. I'll wait. Let's go ahead and get him on the call. And I'm not going to go any further until I talk to the person who's actually the decision maker. Make sure, okay, I do have a note about this. Make sure that you're asking for referrals. I was a very late convert to this. My friend Brandy, who does webinars in Houston, she's the one who actually gave me this big aha. And you know what she told me? She said, they already think you're awesome. Why are you not asking for referrals? Because she asks toward the end of her session, and I just copied what she does. So here's what I do. I don't do it in the first 60 minutes. I wait until I'm in Q&A. And I usually answer one question first. So if I do it right, I'm probably at about minute 65 at this point. And so I'll say, hey, by the way, can I ask you guys something? Does anybody here have someone in their life that needs to hear this content from tonight? who needs to learn how to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's someone, you have an adult child or someone from church that you know, your faith group, who has someone, maybe a coworker, and hands go up. And I'll say, okay, so here's what I would love to do. I've really enjoyed this evening. You guys have great questions, and I would love to work with more people who are just like you. So here's what I'm going to do. I know you guys are booking your appointments right now, but my assistant James is going to drop in the chat a different link. What this link is it goes to the most simple landing page. You can create it in about 90 seconds in Webinar CRM. It's got its own little form, and it basically says, okay, or I'll say, if you have someone who needs to hear what we've shared tonight, if you will share their information with us and we call them and it turns out that they're a real person and they really do want to purchase or sell a home here in Texas, then I would love to say thank you with a $50 gift card, because that's the most I could go. I think I've maybe given out like 7 gift cards, and I don't know, like we've closed 3 or 4 deals. Because if they call, or if my team calls and that person's not real, or they don't indicate that they are a home buyer or seller, the referrer is not getting a gift card. And for some reason, like these leads end up being really high quality. And so, it's a bird in the hand. It's a $50 client acquisition cost. It's the craziest thing. All right, so make sure that you're doing that. Here's when I recommend that you do it. Do it in the, as we talked about, or toward the end of your content or in early Q&A, so that you've still got a lot of people on the phone, but then also do it again in every single consultation. Hey, by the way, before I let you go, do you know anybody? And you'll be shocked. Remember, they already think you're awesome. Usually you and I get referrals after the transaction, and that's why we don't normally ask for them early on in the transaction. They don't trust us yet. They trust you already. They already think you're awesome. All right, let's talk about how to partner with someone on the opposite side of a transaction. I love, love, love some of this stuff. So I have the best idea that somebody handed me for mortgage lenders. If you're one of my LOs in the room, make sure that you take this down, because it's just freaking genius that I'll share with you. It wasn't my idea, it was his. Now, let's think about how we can go bigger with the webinar project, or how we can make the webinar project like even more comfortable from a budgeting perspective by getting some help with our lead generation budget. Yeah, that's one of the ways to partner. When I say partner with a realtor or a lender, I want you to break the association that you might have in your mind with the idea that that person needs to be a one-to-one co-host. That's not what I'm saying here. Co-host is kind of a separate animal. Oftentimes I see people who are co-hosts who do contribute to the lead budget equally, and that's awesome. I will say co-hosting goes wrong, in my opinion, more often than it goes right. Let me tell you how to do it right and what to avoid. So when we think about co-hosting, I want you to be really, really clear about whose slides are whose domain. If you have a co-host, then you need to choreograph this. And remember, it doesn't matter if you have a co-host, you are still beholden to some of our timing rules. You still have to be closing by minute 55. That's one of the biggest sins that I see co-hosts make, is because on every slide, they're both like opining and it just burns up too much time and they end up closing really, really late. Yeah. And so closing meaning dropping the link at like minute 65 or something. 15% of the room's already left at that point. Don't do that. Also, I think there's a certain like nervous energy that can come with co-hosts where they feel both obligated to comment and banter. And it's just really kind of like, it's a little cringe for the audience, to be honest with you. So if you're going to have a co-host, think about this. It doesn't have to be 50-50. And whatever it is, make sure that you rehearse it. I was telling somebody this in the Q&A the other night, but I want to make sure that you guys hear. If you are a rookie, then I highly recommend that if you're a rookie real estate agent, for example, that you have a really badass mortgage loan officer riding with you for those first 2 or 3 webinars, if you are nervous about not being able to answer questions. So what you can do is literally this. They don't need to be your co-host. They just need to kind of wait in the wings. You have your Zoom chat open with all of the, with everyone, so that you can paste links to book appointments and stuff. But then you have a direct message also open with that individual. And anytime somebody asks you something, or they ask in the chat box, and we don't want to ignore them, then, and you don't feel comfortable answering that question, all I do is type help. And an experienced loan officer will say, hey, Brad, can I jump in? Is it okay if I jump in and take that one? And it's like, yes, please bail me out here. Your best friend as a baby realtor is a very experienced loan officer. Okay. Same thing, it works both ways. So you don't need to have a co-host, but if you do, make sure that everybody knows exactly what part of the slide presentation they own, and make sure that you all have rehearsed this before so that you don't have timing issues. Now, as a realtor, you can partner up with a lender or multiple lenders. As a lender, you can partner up with a realtor or multiple realtors. Let's pause here, and I'll give you the most genius strategy that was taught to me by a lender in the Inner Circle program. So here's what he does. This lender hosts his webinars. He doesn't have a co-host. What he has is a co-host seat. So what he does is advertises to the public for buyers who are going to register for the webinar, learn how to buy a house or move up or whatever it is that they do. And what he says is, okay, I've got these 12 or 13 realtors that I work with, and then every 3 or 4 months, they get an invitation to come co-host once a quarter or whatnot. And so what he's doing is he's getting direct deals from the webinar, yes, but he's also providing this extreme value to his lender partners. And, you know, whatever happens, whenever it comes to RESPA and referrals and all of that stuff, make sure that you don't do anything stupid. Make sure you mind your P's and Q's based on where your feet are planted. But what he's also doing is giving value to these realtors. And so if that realtor is, you know, kind of dividing her business between 3 or 4 loan officers and passes out 3 or 4 names whenever she gets a new referral, maybe she doesn't pass out 3 or 4 names anymore. You know, maybe she sort of says like, hey, this is my ride or die. This is the one that I'm going to recommend, or at least recommend first. And so what this realtor was able to create is he was able to create more of the inbound referrals from his realtor partners than he was receiving prior to. It's kind of genius, if you ask me, because we all know those referrals are usually easy deals. Now, what you can do is you can have the other person split half of the ad cost with you, or you can do all of the ad costs. You got to make sure that that's okay based on where your feet are planted and that you can justify that value, et cetera. But you can have the realtor or lender also on the webinar talking you up. You can talk them up. Make sure that you guys rehearse this first. And so we all know, hey, when does this lender, you know, pop on for what slides or what Q&A, et cetera. But it can make that presentation more dynamic, and you can add credibility to one another by telling stories. Hey, remember Angie, remember Mary Lou when we had that client and I thought we were going to lose her, but you pulled off that home run and saved the deal. Wasn't that crazy? You're so awesome. Thanks for what you do. Okay. For realtors, you can give the appointments to the lenders first and have them qualify them and pass them along to you. So remember, we talked about Brad and Josh in Calgary. So check this out. Brad holds the webinar, but you don't get to Brad as an appointment without going through Josh. So when you book an appointment on Brad's webinar, Brad's the realtor, you're booking an appointment with Josh, the lender, and Josh is the gatekeeper, because Brad is a really dominant personality and he does not want to talk to anyone who does not have the ability to buy a house tomorrow. And so think about how you can leverage this. Now, I will tell you that if you choose to divide this work up as the realtor or as the lender, if you have someone else doing that initial consultation, you guys better be singing the same song when it comes to sales. If I, as the realtor, am kind of a hard closer, I want to push pipeline, and then I have a lender partner who's more of a mouse, you know, who just sort of wants to share information and hope they pick us, that is not going to work, and that's going to create resentment, and it's going to tank the results and the return on investment. So just make sure that you guys are singing the same song whenever it comes to sales and have the same values there, okay? Now, this allows you to expand your service to other cities, especially for our lender partners. You know, I'll tell you really quickly about the business that I'm running now. This isn't exclusive to lenders. Yes, you're licensed in like the full state, and yes, you could practice in any state in Texas, but there is a realtor equivalent. So I left the company. I still co-own part of a big real estate company, but because of the success of the webinar project, I was able to spin it off into its own company. And so now what I do is I don't handle a whole lot of deals unless my assistant can like slam dunk it over the phone with a builder like we did on Tuesday. What I do is I refer these out. I have agents who pay me a monthly fee plus 40% of the transaction. And then also I have my loan officer license. So I'm like a business development rep for a lender. So if we capture any of that business, then I'll get paid twice. And so I don't want to show property. I got 3 little kids running around. I'm not doing listings. I'm not going to go show property. I'll go shoot some videos, run some ads, do some webinars, but I have people do the rest. And so it's, and by the way, I live in Austin. Most of my business is in DFW. So because of the power of the webinar CRM and because of like your new knowledge of digital marketing, you can really open up ways to do business that you thought weren't possible before. So FYI, get creative. Happy to talk through that in Q&A as well. Now, Desiree, I didn't start out like this. Let me tell you, there were lots of early versions. Let's put it this way. Okay, let's talk about how to drive conversion and profitability higher. Now, you can overcome any remaining objections with some sweeteners. I want you guys to go to your Day 5 resources later tonight and look inside school Day 5 resources for the VIP Homebuyer Program. So Brad Vanderwall is in Canada. They have been requiring, what do you call them, mandatory buyer rep agreements in Canada for 9 years. And of course, we all just started. It just became part of Texas law about 8 days ago, as a matter of fact. So a lot of people are still not doing it, or they're not comfortable. They're trying to figure out a way to get more comfortable with this. So what Brad created was called the VIP Homebuyer Program, and I'll give it to you in a nutshell. It's basically wrapping that buyer agent rep agreement in a nice sugary candy coating to make it go down easier. So imagine this. Instead of looking at a buyer rep that's 4 pages long, it's very legalistic, and it looks like you're leasing a Honda. Imagine if there were a document in front of that that says, hey, let me tell you all about our VIP Homebuyer Program and all of these cool things that I'm going to do for you. And then I'll show you the document that allows me to start working on your behalf. Okay. So that's a really different conversation if you preface it with something that feels like, I don't know, is actual value to the client versus I'm going to sue you if you leave me and go with another agent. So the VIP Homebuyer Program, you can do things like Brad did with providing certainty via guarantees. So one of the things that you can do is you can provide a guarantee of a home warranty. So it depends on what your market is like, how often you'll get stuck buying a home warranty. But in my market, I'm not going to get stuck very often because here's what we say is, Mr. Buyer, I think it's so important that as a first-time home buyer, you have some coverage for some of the most important systems of the home in case you were to get in there and something were to break, because eventually that's going to happen. So here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to stick my neck out there and I'm going to say that I will guarantee that you get a residential service contract, i.e. home warranty. Now we're going to try to negotiate to get the seller to pay for that, but if they're ornery and won't do that, then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out of pocket and I will pay for that for you at closing because I think it's so important. Okay. That's part of being in my VIP Homebuyer Program. By the way, you can attach membership in the VIP Homebuyer Program to also paying a transaction fee. We do that. Okay, so you could do that with home warranties. I see people do that with title insurance because you're really confident that 9 out of 10 times you're going to have a seller pay for that and you're on the buy side. By the way, in terms of driving profitability higher, consider charging a transaction fee if you don't already. My question to you is this, hypothetical. Go to the chat box and tell me what you think. If you went into Best Buy and you saw 2 televisions, one was like a little... one was a kind of off-brand thing that didn't have a warranty. It wasn't really clear. It was lower quality. And next to it, you would have you had a giant, what do you call it? Like Samsung OLED with the warranty and with the super cool 4K and all that stuff. Is there any world where you would expect those 2 things to cost the same? Is there any world where you would expect the low quality unit and the high quality unit to cost the same? No. So like we talked about on day 3, if you really were convinced that your product is better and their results are going to be better and that you do more and you leave it more on the field and you have more guarantees, then why in the world would compensation look exactly the same for you? And when you explain a transaction fee to a client who already thinks you're awesome, hey, as part of your closing costs, we have a transaction fee. Here's how that works. You don't owe it until and unless we close. Okay, cool. That's usually what they say. Usually, oftentimes you get the seller to pay for it too, depending on where you are. So let's talk about scaling. Let me give you a disclaimer here. If you only want to do another 4 deals a month and lay out at the pool with all of your extra time, I am not going to push you to build a big business like I have. Okay. I am, listen, text me the address. I'll bring the margaritas over to the pool. Okay, fine. Listen, but for those of you who want to have a business that you're not involved in the listing appointments or the buyer appointments, and you're kind of running things and have people who are executing for you because you want to run a business and not a practice. That's the difference, right? A business continues to run if you got hit by a bus tomorrow. It continues to provide for other people uninterrupted. That's how you know whether you have a business or a practice. Most of us have profitable practices, but practices nonetheless. If you want to scale, I'm only talking to you guys. Tell me in the chat box if you're one of my people who wants to scale. Because if nobody does, then I'm going to skip this part. Okay. Leanne says yes. Dr. Abina says yes. Scale, scale, scale. Okay, let's go. All right. I got a lot of go-getters. Let's go get it. Again, no judgment if you just want to do a few more deals a month and lay out at the pool. Totally respect it. Here's what scaling can look like. You have to get some help at some point. I find that once you cross 4 transactions a month, that's when what I call liftoff begins to happen. Like I don't totally feel in control of everything that's going on with the transactions after 4. As somebody who's like managing my own buyers or sellers, it's kind of that magic number for me where I don't feel like I'm offering the service anymore. Like I feel like I really need help and I get stressed out. And so if you want to go more than that, whatever that number is for you, you're going to need some people. You're going to need some help. So what can that look like? I want you to write this word down. You're going to need leverage. And leverage can look a little different. I'll tell you how I accomplished leverage, and then we can figure out what leverage can look like for you. I chose to hire a full-time real estate licensed ISA. If you don't know what ISA is, it means inside sales agent. If you don't know what inside sales means, inside sales is just everything that happens on the phone. So everything that happens before we get to a face-to-face appointment of some kind. And then that's called outside sales. So with inside sales, that's a lot of handling consultations, getting people figured out like, well, can this person actually buy? Can they actually sell? And then getting them on the appointment of somebody like you. So it might make a lot of sense for you to give away the consultations. This person normally has to be either real estate or mortgage licensed because they're going to get into some real, nitty gritty kind of discussions on that initial consultation. I gave my consultations away. I would sit with someone and train them on how to do it. I got really lucky, hit it out of the park with the first person that I hired. I'll tell you that when you run an ad like this, you don't have to pay a lot. Why? Because there are so many people who have real estate licenses who are sitting on go. They would love to join our industry, but they can't bring themselves to jump in on an all commission, all 1099 contract. So here's what I did. I gave a $15 an hour base and then a percentage of the GCI. That's gross commission income, if you don't know. So $15 an hour and then 5% of the GCI. And that was enough to get baby realtors, baby wannabe realtors to come into that seat. And what it turned out to be was a really good recruiting mechanism for people who turned into agents later on the team. But I hired them as ISAs. I trained them on how to handle all of the calls. We created a script, and then they would get them into pre-qual, get them onto the calendar for agents. So that's the way that I bought leverage. Now, you can also buy leverage a different way. In the very beginning, you might say, hey, I don't want to let go of these calls yet. But the first thing that I want to do is I want to get out of the field. Let's say that you work with buyers. What you can do is in your company, if you have other agents running around your company, let's assume that you're not the broker, but you're an agent at a brokerage, you can contract with young agents or new agents rather to go and show property for you. $40 for the first house, $20 for every house after that. And so now you're buying back these giant chunks of time. It's still your deal. You're writing the contract. It has your name on it. You get the commission, but you're paying this person up front. The thing I like about paying them up front versus cutting them in the deal is that it's immediate money for them and it ends up being cheaper for me. So if I cut them into the deal, I'm probably going to have to cut them in for like 5 or 10%. And it's going to be way more expensive. And yes, they don't get paid if the deal doesn't close. But I want them to own this. Like, hey, I'm giving you $40. Go out there, show the house, tell me how it went. That's all you got to do. Yeah. And for a person who's brand new to real estate, that can be life-changing. And it can really put you back on the phone, handling more appointments or hanging out with your kids. Some agents have that mortgage lender handle the first appointment, just like Brad and Josh do. I want you to think about like scaling in a different way. It's not just help from like labor. It's also help from a financial perspective. So ISA is inside sales agent. Inside sales is everything that happens on the phone. Who else can invest in your webinar? Because investing in your webinar means growing the lead budget bigger, which means that you can reach a bigger audience, you have more appointments, and you have more revenue coming back into the house faster without stressing out about your own cash. So let's say, okay, title, other service providers. Yeah. Number one, this does depend on where your feet are planted. It's a lot easier to get title to contribute in Colorado than it is in California, but you guys will have to know that based on where you are and talking to some really good resources there. You know, there are lots of vendors who are not settlement service providers who have no restrictions whatsoever about contributing to your lead budget. Settlement service providers are governed by RESPA, so that is your title, that is mortgage, that is real estate agents, that is home warranty, I think, insurance. Surprisingly, it's not builders. Builders are not settlement service providers. Their title company might be, but the builder themselves are a principal to the transaction. So they can strangely give you as much as you want. And they usually are the biggest contributor, by the way. Let's do a little exercise. We talked a lot about on Monday, downsizers, like people who are going to assisted living. And then they are selling mom's house, and mom is going to go into this facility, or she's going to go into a condo or something. Think about that client. There's kind of two clients in there, right? There's mom, and then there's the 62-year-old child who's handling all of this stuff. Who are the vendors who could contribute to your webinar? Maybe get a little sponsorship placement on your webinar. I'm not saying you give them the microphone. That's probably not the right choice. But we can plug them on the webinar and in the follow-up materials and on the sponsorship page and all that stuff. Who would be a good contributor for that particular scenario? I'm going to give you a hint. There's a lot of them. Who said junk removal? That's great. Estate planners, okay. Assisted living. I'm sounding like a robot. Am I? Who's saying who's a robot? Am I a robot? Financial advisors, trust lawyers. Yeah, please. Retirement communities, estate sales, reverse mortgage lender as an alternative. How cool is that? Yeah, that's amazing. The assisted living facility themselves. Yes, awesome. Fantastic. This is great. Probate attorneys, movers. Okay, so you're seeing how you can, you're seeing, like, if you like kind of put your butt in the chair here and do a little bit of bubble writing, think about everybody who benefits whenever, Howard creates one of these downsizer transactions. It's a lot of people. How many people want to reach the audience that you've been able to pull together here? Okay, awesome. Okay, so you guys did good. If you want to work with that segment, I highly suggest that you copy down some of the notes that we've made here in the chat box, because that is there's some very good ideas that can help you make some money. We talked about builders being pretty juicy. That was the biggest one for me. I work with first-time home buyers, so we also had a credit repair referral. We ended up ending that relationship whenever I got my mortgage loan officer license, because now those things are a little related. I can't take money regarding credit repair, but now I get to get commissioned on some of the loans. Okay, let's talk about pre-recorded webinars. I told you we're covering everything that didn't fit neatly into days 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to make sure that these are the things that you know about before I release you into the world here after our supersized Q&A. Our pre-recorded webinars, man, everybody wants to jump to pre-recorded, usually too quickly. Now, I want to give you a little, before we even talk about pre-recorded, let me give you the bar that I want you to hold yourself to. Please write this down. Yes, you can buy back your time and have your webinar completely automated, but until you have held at least 5 live webinars, and until you have achieved a 30% audience attendee to appointment conversion, 30, then you are not ready, Grasshopper, to run pre-recorded webinars. You're not good enough yet to go pre-recorded, okay? So I know my high Ds in the room who are like itching to get this off your plate. Let's do it. Let's let the robots handle it or whatever. Yes, and it has to be really good. Why? Because there's no pre-recorded webinar that's going to convert as well as your live. It has not yet been invented. There's some damn good ones, and I'll show you how to make it work. There are mostly bad pre-recorded webinars in my experience. Let's talk about those right now. I feel like there's like 10 different ways to do them, and I hate 9 of them. The most common one that I think that really sucks is what we call an on-demand webinar. There's nothing wrong with this, except it doesn't work. Here's why. So the what do you call it? The on-demand webinar is where you see an ad, you click the ad, and then you go directly into a video. Now, doesn't that seem like it should work because you're giving the people what they want? Yes, it does. But here's what happens. What are the chances that that person who was scrolling Facebook sees this cool ad about, let's see, about Peggy's, seller webinar, and they scroll through Facebook, they see the ad, they click through, the video starts, okay. What are the chances that individual has 60 to 90 minutes, like just right now, that they can spend watching Peggy's amazing webinar? It's very, very slim. They're not prepared for this. So what happens, the stats show us, is that they watch about 3 minutes. Is 3 minutes of that content enough to learn to trust Peggy, think she's a badass, fall madly in love with her, and decide that I want to book a call? It's not enough time. And so now I just wasted all of that. It's a great way to create low intent leads. You might as well just go to like Facebook lead form. You might as well go to freaking Google, send it to traffic search, because they don't know, like, or trust you yet after 3 minutes of watching that video. So to me, those are trash. Now we go like, well, what do you do to get pre-recorded? So there's what's called live recorded, which is where you take a video of your best webinar basically ever. And you got to have some rules of the road here. I'll give you some hints or some tips about how not to screw this up. But it's one of your best recordings ever. You put it out there into some different software. That software has the ability to take the chat from the night that the webinar was live, and it will code those chat messages to the right instance in the video. And it's almost imperceptible that it is actually not live. So you got to have some different software for that. There's some different steps. You have to get all that text coded. It's a little bit of a lift, but it is totally possible. So you can record that live webinar, turn it into the pre-recorded live is what we call it. And then you would put it into the funnel like we do with anything else. The people would book for Tuesday or Thursday night. You can give them multiple options in this case. And then you don't want to give them too many options because that's like a hint that, hey, it's not actually live. But then they'll get text messages and emails as a reminder it's still an event. And now they are preparing to put their butt in the chair and watch it for an hour. It's just that it's not actually live. So during that live webinar, you have to be really careful though, because the recording that you use, it can't have any tells that this is not live. So I'll give you an example. You can't talk about the Longhorns winning. You can't talk about it being cold outside. You can't talk about mortgage rates. You can't talk about the weather. One time I did all of this perfectly. I had the webinar set up to run, and one night I just went in and I said, hey, I want to see what it looks like from the client's perspective. And I went in to my pre-recorded webinar. It was in July, but the video was completely dark outside because I had this window here. It was recorded during December. So anyone who was in Texas watching it at that moment knew damn good and well that that was not a live webinar because it was dark where I was. So I sort of told on myself. The other thing that you can't do is you can't record a Q&A. Not really. Because if you have a Q&A, then imagine this. The prospect is sitting there asking their question. You're answering everyone else's question in the chat box. And then you go, all right, if nobody else has any questions, we'll go ahead and go for the night. And it's like, hey, I just asked this 4 times, and now you're worse off for having done that because you've made them mad. So you have instead the ability to do maybe like a FAQ, of frequently asked questions. And you can say, hey guys, I don't have time to do Q&A tonight because I've got to go, I've got the kiddos. But here are the 3 most common things that you guys ask me. Here are those answers. And then make sure that you book your appointment to get your other questions answered. That would be the way to pull out of that and still make it look legitimate. Okay. And keep in mind, you may have to redo that recording every few months as conditions change and your advice changes. All right. So everybody go to the chat box and drop a 1 mil if you are ready to transform your business with Zoom webinars. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Is my sound okay? I saw a couple of people say that my sound was a little weird, and then some other people say that it's okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay. Somebody tell me if I'm good. I'm all good? All right, good. All right, I am so ready. I saw somebody put 1 bill. I love it. Yes, absolutely. I'll let you guys know when I hit 1 billion. Now, I'm going to be really transparent here. Up until I started hosting webinars, my biggest fear was public speaking. I know that you probably don't believe me, but I'll tell you a very quick story. I had never spoken in public before. I taught my little classes at the company that I own, but maybe like 10 people, I taught a few people on Zoom, things like that. And so the idea of having 100 people in the room totally panicked me. After we released the first book I ever wrote, they put me on stage at this coaching event in Denver. I have a recording of it. We can pop some beers later and listen because it's hilarious. It sounds like I hate the audience. Like I was so afraid of public speaking. It was the ring of fire around success for me. So what happens is I decided that like this webinar thing's gonna be awesome. I can see it like printing commissions for me. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get over my fear. Well, webinar night came and I was there. I was in private inner circle, so I had my coach Luke with me. We had rehearsed everything. I had all my windows. I got in super early. Everything was perfect. And still, when I let people into the room and I hit like open meeting, I started to go into a panic attack. Now, if you've ever had a panic attack before, one of the things that happens is that your vision sort of like constricts. It's like you have like little tunnel vision. I don't know if that's ever happened to you before, but I felt it coming on. I couldn't see and I froze. And I don't know how many seconds it was, but I was standing there speechless and I couldn't talk. And, I'm about to have my worst fear realized here. And I can just feel everything crashing down. So what happened is that I saw my cursor start to move, and it moved from my right monitor to my center monitor, and it goes and it clicks a button. And after it clicks the button, that puts my presentation on the screen. And I had enough brain power left to just start reading the screen. And I don't remember the next 6 or 7 minutes, but I sort of woke up and I was on my, 12th slide. And so I realized that Luke had basically saved me. And then, 15 minutes in, I'm like, wait a minute, this is kind of fun. And then, of course, that night, even though I thought I blew it, it turns out I booked 17 appointments. So that was the big like ring of fire around it for me. Now, knowing that I had someone like Luke to actually bail me out, or Mo to make sure that I didn't screw something up right there on the call whenever I was worried about making this happen for the first time, to make sure that everything would go totally smoothly. It really took a huge weight off of my shoulders. Now, they were there to give me feedback, to help me improve, and to turn me into the presenter that I am today. They weren't there to tell me you're doing a great job, pat me on the back. They were there to give me the feedback I needed to get better. And then beyond the presentation, they were always there to help me stay on track and then ensure that I got the best results possible. Now, that meant keeping the landing page conversions high. If it dipped, then we need to make changes. The thing that worked last year is not going to work as well this year. Like you have to keep changing things so that you get all the juice out of your webinars. Keeping attendee costs low. That's about keeping your ads really good and making sure that they're super high converting. And that's always changing. Making sure that entire tech stack is working, especially if I went in there, tinkered with something and broke it. And then coaching me on taking those sales appointments. I was completely covered. I literally had no experience presenting or doing marketing like this before whatsoever. And I had tried every marketing strategy at my old company. None of them gave me the growth and the peace of mind that Rico Demand did. Now, it wasn't until I invested with the team that I could spend 90 minutes and go get 3 deals closed. And from my very first webinar, so I did get better. I eventually got better. My first webinar of 2025, I booked 115 appointments. There was the calendar for the team. Don't do that. That's way too many. Don't do that to yourself. But it shows you what's possible there and how high you can drive this. Now, I am someone, because I was part of that big company, I've spent over $4 million in advertising on buyer pay-per-click ads alone, not even the rest of the stuff. We spent tons of money on marketing agencies. We made hundreds of thousands of cold call dials, and nothing even came close. Now, what works today is not what's going to, or not what worked last year. You have to change stuff. Facebook just changed its algorithm, and so The old ads don't work as well as the new ads, and you have to have somebody who is on top of that stuff. That's the power of the one-on-one mentorship. It's an expert who's personally invested in your success to give you the best practices in any market, whatever happens. Now, we do have to limit the number of people who can join because we put our all into making sure those private clients achieve the best results possible. But if you're motivated and ready to transform your business in 2026, I'm going to invite you to click the link in the chat to apply below. Now, somebody was asking earlier about like what all is inside the Private Inner Circle one-on-one program. Let me tell you, we don't have time to go through everything, but I'll hit some highlights here. There's a one-on-one dedicated coach and account manager to hold your hand and train you. For me, that was Luke. He trained me on everything. Mo helped me set up the system, the CRM, the ads, the Zoom, the calendar, all of those things that I wasn't comfortable with because I'm not a tech guy. The webinar sponsorship system, they taught me how to get sponsors, which was really good for my business, and how to never pay for a webinar all by myself again. They also gave me access to a private community of hundreds of successful agents and lenders. So there's a private school community for the Inner Circle folks where we're in there posting about what works. I go teach classes in there every other couple of weeks. There's access to the full library of assets, tons of ad copy, ad creatives, tons of new videos, there's presentations and guides. Also, they're there to attend your live webinar and thoroughly grade you to improve so that you can get better and better and better. Plus, there's weekly marketing, tech, and sales trainings, as well as bi-weekly sales and conversion trainings with yours truly on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Plus, you get 6 months of the webinar CRM that's covered for you. And optionally, if you want to have a conversation about how to do those pre-recorded webinars and learn about that system so that you can have those webinars run automatically and get those appointments booked on autopilot, then we can do that. Now, the common denominator there was that all of our success stories had this one thing in common. We were not marketing geniuses by a mile. We definitely weren't natural born presenters, nor sitting on a ton of cash. But we did have enough self-awareness to know that what we were doing in real estate was not working. And we were wise enough to find a mentor who could lead us to more and better results. So we all applied for the Private Inner Circle program, myself included, and thank God I did. Tonight, you can do the same. Now imagine if you had Mo, Luke, myself, the team right beside you, all of the information that you could possibly need about how to close deals, every edge that a mortgage or real estate pro could possibly have, plus that community of hundreds of others who are winning doing exactly this so that you can learn from them and grow with them. Don't you think that you'd be in a better position than you are today? Now, if you want to finally feel like you have some direction and guidance in your real estate or mortgage journey, to finally stop all of that guesswork and trying to figure out every little thing for yourself, like on YouTube at 11 o'clock at night, to finally be told, hey, you're doing good over here, but you've got to change this to get to the results. This is how you get your webinars to the next level from somebody who really knows. Then I want you to apply right now. Let's work together. Let's crush your goals for this year. I'm super excited to see what you guys produce. Now, let me explain. This isn't something that takes months or years to succeed with. I joined the Private Inner Circle program almost 2 years ago, and my first webinar brought me 3 deals under contract and 30 grand in commissions. In one webinar alone, I booked 115 appointments for my team that turned into 6 figures worth of deals. Now, you have seen multiple examples of real estate and mortgage pros from all backgrounds, all income levels, and all levels of experience who are making life-changing money with one thing, a webinar funnel. My perspective is this. At this stage, the biggest thing that I have learned after all these years is that my time is my money. And every month that you spend not implementing this system is costing you. It's costing you time, it's costing you wasted money and consistency in your business. Not knowing how to book appointments and close deals on autopilot is actually taking money out of your pocket right now. Imagine that, hundreds flying out of your pocket right here as we speak. There went another one. If that's not making you mad, I don't know what will. Now, you do have a choice. You could go on your merry way, not implement a single thing that you learned on the webinar funnel. You could try to do everything yourself and then struggle all the way to your goals. Or you could follow my footsteps and join the Private Inner Circle program, taking a ton of stress and uncertainty off of your plate and increasing your odds of success drastically, hockey stick style. Your choice. Apply to the program if you want to take action tonight. Let me recap very quickly what's inside. You get your one-on-one dedicated coach and account manager to hold your hand and train you. You also get your full system set up and optimization. That's the CRM handled, ads handled, Zoom calendar handled. The webinar sponsorship system, which is how to get sponsors and never pay for a webinar all by yourself again. And then that private community of hundreds of successful agents and lenders who are all performing at that high level so you can learn. Now, access to our full library of assets. That's more ad copy, tons of ad creatives, presentations, guides, plus your coach attending your live webinar and thoroughly grading you so that you get better and better. Weekly marketing, tech, and sales trainings, plus bi-weekly sales and conversion trainings with me on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, plus 6 months of the webinar CRM that is covered for you. Yep. Also, if you want to have a conversation about recorded webinars, we can talk about that system so you can see webinars that run automatically and get appointments booked on autopilot without you actually being there. Yeah. Now, I want to introduce you guys to somebody. Actually, I want to say thank you to somebody, several somebodies. The people on the screen worked through the weekend and worked into the night, producing this challenge, setting everything up, and also like answering all of your questions in school. They're making their way through all of those questions, etc. And I couldn't be prouder to be associated with them. Do you see the guy? I don't know if y'all can see my cursor. Do you see the white shirt guy here too? There I am, my jacket. And here he is in the white shirt. That's Luke. That's who bailed me out. Mo's in there, like every person here. That's Brad Vanderwall. Every person here is a real live person who has contributed to my success. So I'm very grateful for, and several of them are actually here tonight. So a big appreciation in the chat box for you guys. I'm so grateful, team, for everything that you have done for our people in the challenge. We thank you. I appreciate everything you've done for me and my business and done for my family. So for those of you who are here and those of you who the rest of you who are out there, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. You're the best. Now, let's give away some free stuff. I promised you a big giveaway. I'll deliver a big giveaway. This is our big Friday Webinar Mastery Toolkit giveaway. Now, remember that this is for one person. We only have one of these. This is one person from the VIP section. This was so hard. So when we picked this individual, it was a very spirited discussion. Let's just say that. This Webinar Mastery Toolkit's pretty big. You're going to get a big old box of stuff. You get a professional quality podcast mic, an HD webcam, a ring light. Doesn't sound that important, but if I were to turn this light off right now, that's right behind my computer, maybe I'll do it for fun in Q&A and you'll see I look like 20 years older. A $300 Facebook advertising credit plus 6 months of that webinar CRM. We are going to ask this person if they're here. Somebody go highlight them. Let me know that they're here. I want to ask them what their biggest takeaway is. We had to only pick one individual. They're very deserving. So congratulations. Let's give it up in the chat box for Care Kaufman. Care, we are very, very excited to have you be the recipient of this. Watch your school DM so that we can get your address and make sure that we're sending all of your big box of goodies to the right place. If Care's here, I'm going to go through my participant window. Can somebody from the team highlight Care if they're here? If not, I think Care's actually here. Can somebody highlight? I'm going to ask Care to unmute. Care, are you with us? Hey there. Hi.
Hi. Yes, I am. Thank you. This is so exciting. I am just very, very, very thrilled.
Awesome. So talk to me. What's your biggest, crazy takeaway over the last week? We've done a lot of work together. You learned a lot of things, but what stands out, one thing you're really walking away with?
Well, the one thing I'm walking away with is that all of the work I was putting into trying to do a webinar on my own, setting it up and everything, has all been spelled out for me and has become so clear. And I am so excited because I also have a new agent in my company.
Yeah.
And he is going to be able to be with me on them and take the lead with a lot of the buyers.
Amazing. Amazing. And then you can focus on maybe sellers, or maybe you can focus on hanging out at the house, whatever you want to do. It's like
being halfway retired.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations. We appreciate all of your contributions and I can't wait. I expect big, big things and some updates about your webinar. Thank you so much, Care. We have a supersized Q&A. That was awesome. A supersized Q&A where I'm going to invite you guys to raise your hands. Listen, I'm still not the guy. I am no more tech capable than I was on Tuesday. So I will, if you have like an ad related question, I am in charge of ads, although not the technology for ads necessarily. I can do anything there. I can, if you want to ask something about my business, if you, something we didn't hit on for anybody who wants to scale, if you guys want to talk commission splits, that's a really important one. I usually get that question on Friday. Also, if you guys want to know about tech setup, like, hey, like how many computer, monitors do you need? What's on my desk? Any of that kind of practical, tactical stuff. I'm kind of an open book. If it's something I can't answer because of something private about my business or something, I'll tell you, but go ahead and ask. It's fine. Because I can't wait to share with you guys. Let's go ahead and jump right in. We have a little bit more than half an hour, and I'm going to go fast. So we're going to start with Isabel, and Isabel is going to lead us off super strong. Hi, Isabel. What's your question?
Hi, how are you? As you
Great.
can tell, I put a virtual backdrop, and I just wanted to ask, do you have one, or is that your real back office?
This is my real office, but I am okay. I love when people like get to day 2 of the challenge and go, "Are you a recording?" No, everybody's so suspicious with AI.
I just want to know how you feel about doing a virtual backdrop. I mean, I was just testing this one out. I want to do a more professional.
I think it's fine. Like, I mean, I don't know about the ones where you're in a spaceship or, like the beach with the waves and stuff behind you. I think like a professional looking sort of static one that doesn't move around and it's not distracting is completely fine.
And one last question. And what about in the template that we're using for the invitation? Your template already has like a house in the backdrop. Are those okay to use, or you really strongly suggest that we swap them out with the photo that we select?
Are you talking about the ad?
Yeah, the ad that we put out on Facebook.
Oh, no, test different ones.
Okay.
So, yeah. So what's the one that you were thinking about using, like a house?
Yeah, just leave the house that you have. I was looking for houses, and I'm like, that's just fine with me.
So if that house looks like inventory in your area, then that's fine. But if you were, let's say, selling condos, or you were selling something in New York where it was going to be maybe Staten Island and it's older and they're smaller and they're row homes mostly, like that would not be the right choice, right? Because we don't want to just say house. We want to say like, hey, this looks like here. And so if you have done listings before, you own your listing photos. If you have the rights to those, then I would use those all day long. If your broker will share some listing photos as well. That's if you can't find something in the Canva photo database that looks very local. Make sure it does look local though.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You so much.
You're welcome. Let's go to Jeff. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, Brad. So it's going to take a little while for me to get my question out because you brought up really good info, and I've got actually more and more questions for you. So, as you know, I'm a little different than everybody. I own a credit repair company. I've owned it for 20 years. My credit repair works. So my biggest fear is I'm going to get way too many people on my webinar. But my call to action is going to be a little different than most people. My call to action is I'm actually going to try to get people while we're in the webinar to actually fill out like a mini app with my lender, my preferred lender. Okay. So I'm going to say 2 things you're going to do. You're going to fill out this application so we can get your credit pulled, and you're going to schedule a 10-minute consult with me. So I'm basically going to tell everybody can set up a 10-minute consult with me as long as they fill out the app to have their credit report pulled. That 10-minute consult will basically be with me telling them yes or no, can I fix their credit and how long it's going to take, or hey, you don't even need credit repair. Let's go get you a home now. Or 3, I can't let you go into my program now, but here's the things you can do, and I can let you go into it in 6 months.
Is this going to be something custom, or is it a 1003?
It's something custom. It's going to basically name, address.
How long would it take me to fill that out?
To your job history, to your work history, to your home.
How long do you estimate it would take me to fill that out?
I don't think very long.
Okay.
Less than 5 minutes.
Okay, cool. All right, so I love what you're
planning on doing it at the end, towards the end of my thing, but before the Q&A. So yeah, that's a good question for
you. What was the last thing you said?
So I was planning on actually having them fill out the application for the loan app before the Q&A, but after most of my presentation.
That's the right spot because they trust you at that point, right? And so now you have them. We need to do it before minute 55. I like what you're saying. Here's the only edit, and is don't position it as 2 steps, because it's not really. Hey, what you're going to do is you're going to click the link and you're going to book an appointment to get on my calendar. To book it, it's got some questions. You fill out the questions and then pick a time. So go book your appointment right now. So remember, the less of a big deal it is to you, the less of a big deal it is to me. Everybody write that down. That's one of my sales laws. The less of a big deal it is to you, the less of a big deal it is to me. So if I'm thinking, hey, it's this thing, it's mini application, and then they're going to go, like, remember that a confused mind doesn't buy. So I am totally fine. I'm just giving you a little tweak about the language around it. It's 1 step.
So are you saying maybe I could actually put all the questions that go on the this little mini app that my lender's going to work on the questionnaire?
Yes.
Even the social and date of birth and all that stuff?
I mean, listen, now you're getting into what's A-okay based on where your feet are planted from a compliance standpoint, right? And like, if I'm going to ask somebody for their social, like, yeah, like Barbara said, the word application is kind of scary. So, you know, this is something that the lender needs their eyeballs on and go, hey, where is this even okay? Because I think there's, you know, the reason that the 1003 is the universal loan application is universal for a reason.
Yeah. And so, which is why I might have to have 2 steps, not just 1.
Well, so then I think,
but I want to get it done right at the same time. I think my objective is to get them to do both on the webinar. Because I think once they leave the webinar, maybe it'll be hard.
They can't do a whole 1003 on the webinar.
Yeah, I realize that.
It's too much. Yeah, it's too much. So talk to the lender and go, what is the thing that, what are we actually trying to accomplish? Are we trying to get an authorization to pull credit and pull credit before we actually go to the thing?
We're trying to get their credit pulled before their 10-minute meeting with me.
That's a 1003 then.
Yeah, just to get credit pulled. That's it.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was going to do.
And again, this is going to be state. So here's what we're kind of going into the state compliance stuff too. Because, you know, we got NMLS rules and then we got your state rules, and I don't know where you are. In Texas, it's like QQQ. So like, this is talk to the lender and their compliance department about what's A-okay. But I think about what you actually want here, because I would really hate to burden somebody with a full 1003 and then they didn't get to the appointment and they would have bought, you know?
Yeah, but it doesn't do any good to really talk to anybody until I have their credit report in front of me.
Yeah. So why not just run a webinar for the lender? And then he gives free credit repair, or he's got a credit repair referral, or whatever the deal is between y'all. Because now we're promoting a lender action. So
I'm just saying, hey, I'm going to fix your credit free. You got to use Mr. Realtor. The way I'm going to know whether I can help you or not, though, is with the credit report. I mean, I can go through like a monitoring service type thing, but when I have a lender that's willing to pull the credit.
Okay. So then, like, step 1 is we got to look at your credit. Fill out this application, period.
Right.
Yeah.
Step
1
2,
step. A confused mind doesn't buy. Give them 1 action to take. Figure out what that action is. It's either an appointment with you or it's an application, I think.
Okay. My other. I'm going to switch
quick because we're
yeah. So you talked about having, like, paying agents $40 to go show homes. Okay. The majority of my business is really going to be kind of like a rainmaker. I mean, I'm planning on bringing hundreds of leads every month, and I'm planning on creating a team of different realtors who I'm going to set. And most of my business, I would say 80% of it is going to be new home construction. Okay. So it's basically going to be, you go put these people on contract here, go people on contract here, go put these people on contract there. How much should I pay these realtors? I mean,
are you going to be the broker and they are realtors hanging their license under you?
I'm a realtor and they're going to be on my team.
Okay. So,
but I'm not the broker. No.
Okay. So how much does the broker step on your split?
It's 80-20 with a $6,500 cap, or I can move back to my previous broker, which was just $225 a file.
So in terms of your math with your broker, you'll have to figure that out. But here's what I get. Here's what I could do. If I have an appointment that has already been like pre-screened and it shows up on the calendar for Saturday morning at the builder or at the Starbucks, there's no reason that I should pay more than 30% to that agent.
Gotcha. So basically a 70-30% split for me at the most, giving them 30% just to go Go to D.R. Horton and put them on contract. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all
because it's a lead. It's not, or no, it's a client. It's not a lead. So for anybody who's thinking about building a business here, if I were handing you a lead that then like the expectation is you'd have to call 100 of them 7 times to go get one deal, that's a 50-50 in most situations. I would never charge the same for a lead as a client. All right, I got to move on because we got a lot of people. But
very good. Appreciate it.
Let's go to Lisa. What's up, Lisa?
Hello. Okay, so this is my question from last night, and we're kind of talking a little bit about compliance, but it's pretty general and probably across state lines. But when you're in the appointment, at what point in time are you qualifying them to see if they're already under a buyer rep agreement with another agent? How are you doing that? Is it part of your
remember that when we're in that consultation, we kind of start off on that discovery phase. We're the ones asking the questions. They're the one doing all the talking. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them talk about themselves for a minute. And then I'm going to say like, hey, how long have you guys been thinking about this? And they'll say, well, you know, we've been thinking about it for like 6 months and we looked at a few houses. And anything that they say that gives me any kind of an indication that like there's somebody else, if I have any doubt whatsoever based on the story that there might be somebody else, I'll say, hey, so just out of curiosity, are you all working with a realtor? And if they say, yeah, we work with somebody, then I'll follow up with, are you committed to working with that person? And if they say yes, then I have to bounce off of the call. And I have a lot of people who end up firing their realtors coming back to me 60 to 90 days later because their realtor can't do what I do.
Okay.
Easy peasy. That was a good one. Let's go to Colleen. Hi, Colleen. It should pop up and ask you to unmute.
I'm unmuting. Thank you. And to say, Care, thank you for all your conversations throughout the week as well, Care. Very well done. My question is quick. I left it in school for Mo. My target audience is people leaving where they're coming from to Florida. So to do Facebook ads, should I just do it in 3 separate time zones? Because
people leaving where they are coming to Florida. Okay.
So my clients would be from all over the United States. I guess that's how I phrase the question.
Okay, so let's dial that in. These are people. This is a segment of the buyer population that you have already worked with before, have had success.
Yes. But
where do they typically come from? Give me 3 answers.
Cold places. Anything cold. They're getting ready to retire and they're sick of cold.
Give me cities. 3 cities.
Minneapolis, Minnesota, North Jersey, and New York City.
Okay. All right, cool. So those are your 3 map dots that you would test first. If those are your feeder markets, it works a little bit because somebody's going to ask me eventually, like, hey, I'm in a vacation market. Vacation market works differently because those people are usually like spontaneously looking to purchase while they're there, or they're searching for that. So you can actually drop a dot in your area. Like if I'm in Cabo and I want to sell vacation homes in Cabo, I'd probably advertise first in Cabo. I haven't seen it work that much in like relo markets because it's like one time kind of thing. But yeah, I would definitely try those 3 map dots. Don't run a giant budget, but what you can do is you can run 3 little ad sets and watch your click-through rate and see which you'll probably have like 1 loser and 2 winners, or 1 winner and 2 losers, and spend money where people click through.
Yeah, basically the market I'm working in is people retiring and wanting to find the retirement community of their dreams. So
yeah,
I thank you for that.
Awesome. Let's go to Johanna. It should pop up and ask you to unmute.
Yep, just got it. It takes a minute, so don't yell at anyone else. Hey, one fantastic 5 days now. Can you do a favor and go through that post-webinar telephone call you do to people who attended, but they did not schedule a conversation?
Sure. So ring, ring. Hey, this is Bradley Pounds. I was a host of the webinar on Tuesday night or last night. Hey, just wanted to call and say thanks so much for calling to the webinar or coming to the webinar. You know, I know we had a lot of people, a lot of questions. I wanted to make sure you got your question answered. What was the big question that you wanted to get answered last night? And they'll say, well, I wanted to know about blah, 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 and you already answered it. Okay, cool. Well, just out of curiosity, I did notice that you didn't book an appointment from the webinar last night. Is there any reason in particular that you didn't book onto our calendars? And then you take it from there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Let's go to Pat. What's up, Pat?
Hey, Bradley. Three big takeaways. Your presentation, starting with 60 points, 60 programs for first-time home buyers. Absolutely arrest the attention. The second big one was the Gladiator close. That differentiates, that builds credibility, that builds trust, and you are a beast when it comes to building yes moment. I've been, like Bronson says, I've been webinar hacking you, and I have studied the last 40 minutes of your presentation as to how you build that crescendo. And you are that psych, that very under the radar. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I appreciate the encouragement. It's been a big challenge and a busy week, so I appreciate that a lot, Pat. All right, everybody, I want to just remind everyone that we do still have an opportunity to book an appointment to talk about the private one-on-one Inner Circle program. When I go away tonight, the link goes away. So make sure that you've clicked that and booked your opportunity to chat about that. Michael, what's up, Michael?
Hey, Bradley, thanks a lot to you and the team for all your work this week. I'm signed up for Monday and excited to chat. So I'm trying to refine my webinar topic and scope, and I'm new to real estate. I'm a first-time home buyer, and that's who I'm trying to engage. And I'm actually partnering with my loan officer for at least the first couple of webinars. Okay. So with AI and the slides that she provided me, I've been trying to find what that scope is, and I've kind of landed on this right here. I would love your feedback. Keeping it broad, is 2026 the year to buy? Why interest rates alone can't decide for you? And I'm hoping that I can sort of bridge the nitty-gritty finance and then some of the real estate strategy for sort of that educational scope that you were giving us at, like how to build pipeline over time and meet people where they're at. So I'm kind of imagining like an interested avatar, but someone who doesn't see themselves or the market as a right to buy. Is that too broad? Or any other tips on how to kind of bring the finance and the real estate together?
So I don't hate it. I think it's very thoughtful, and I appreciate the thought you put into it. Here's my concern is I think that we're almost targeting too high on the funnel. So this person is sort of problem aware, but she's still deciding. And yes, I want to help her decide that this is the right time, but could we go ahead and target someone who is lower on the funnel, who already has concerns about how versus instead of should I, how can I? And so I would say play with some messaging that's a little bit more like tactical. You know, that's why I love I love talking about mistakes. I love talking about like hacks. You know, if you wanted to go like what's working right now, and kind of that sort of thing. I think that you're going to get leads, and I think you're going to create relationships, and your mind is probably in the right direction as far as pipeline. You will build pipeline deals, but to be like really successful at this, I want you to get commissions, you know, in 60 days versus 6 months. And so, you know, think about, and again, I'm happy to be wrong, test. You know, sometimes the thing that I think is going to work ends up completely falling flat versus the thing that I just sort of, you know, cranked out really quickly at 4:59 p.m. on a Friday to get it out there ends up being like the best thing. So test. Those are my thoughts. Those are my concerns. If you see that manifest when you go out there with this message, then know that we probably need to to pivot a little bit so we can get some deals for today as well as pipeline.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
You're so welcome. Let's go to Daryl. What's up, Daryl?
Awesome. Thank you very much for taking my call. You had talked about becoming a mortgage loan officer. I'm also in Texas. I'd like to know a little bit more how that works in your overall plan. Are you actually helping people get mortgages, or are you using that as a referral?
So I am not the mortgage loan officer of record on the loan. So in Texas, what you can do is you can basically like collect a few pieces of information on the front end if you have a mortgage loan officer license, and then you can be positioned as a business development rep. So it is, legal for you to get paid, but you don't end up being the LO on the file, which is where those complications used to come in terms of like, you know, being the loan officer and the agent. I'm not the LO, but I still get paid. And so there's a few different opportunities like that. There's one that we actually just sent an email out to the Inner Circle folks about because of the deal's pretty sweet. It's called Sunny Hill Mortgage. They'll help you get licensed, and they'll actually like help underwrite the cost of some of that education. So that's one. I would definitely look those guys up.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's go to Robert.
Great, Dave. Thank you. Wanted to tell you that Tricia, I spoke to her yesterday, does a bang up job.
She's amazing.
Great help.
Amazing.
I am also an appraiser as well as a realtor.
Cool.
My avatar that I'm thinking about doing is covering, understand the real estate contracts, the three biggies: buyer brokerage agreement, listing, and purchase. And
before we go there,
ahead.
Before we go to the topic, I want you to tell me, who is the client that you're trying to attract? What's your avatar?
Well, I'm looking at trying to get both in terms of if you from my experience, I've been doing this a long time. And if you've done it any time, you get your heart broken with friends, relatives, whoever, list or sell with somebody else. And then they call you up and say, hey, I have a question. And you want to just tell them, you do realize I do this for a living, right? And you should be calling your agent, the one that you hired. So
what's the thing?
I want to give a service of educating them and giving them something so they want to give me their business.
Okay. So here's what I want you to think. I want you to, it's a little big. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of expansive, and it's a little bit less clear, because remember, when we go out there with a message to cold traffic, like, we have to be slow, loud, and clear about who is this for and what will you get. And I mean, we have very few words to describe that. Not a lot of runway. And so I want you to pick an avatar. Are they a buyer seller? And then let's dial that in a little bit. And then, is this the problem that my avatar thinks that he or she has? Because if it's what I know she should be concerned about, but she's not problem aware, is what that's called in marketing. If she's not aware that this is her real issue and she's not sweating this, she's not going to click on that ad. And so we either have to find the avatar who is problem aware and is sweating contracts, or we have to change our message. So I think you have a challenge there. There's some good stuff. And I think my honest opinion is that these are probably some like part of your content when you go to teach. I don't think that this is your hook. We got to find the hook.
One of the problems, and pardon me for interrupting, is in my market, and I don't know about anywhere else, but it appears a lot of the buyer's agents are not getting the buyer brokerage agreement signed because they're afraid to, and they're not educating the public as to what that is. And if I'm able to overcome that objection for the buyers, then I have them.
Okay. So again, I think you're going to have to go get inside of you need to talk to some people who are your avatar and go like, hey, what keeps you up at night about this process? Because I don't think that's what the buyer is sweating. Usually when buyer agents don't get it signed, it's because they're chicken about getting it signed. Right. They didn't do a good job explaining it. It's not that the buyer has a major objection. I think you got to do some work around this. I want you to go talk to your avatar. If you have like a niece or a buddy from church who's like about to buy a house or sell a house, go like, hey, what do you not know? Because my fear is that we're not nailing it. My fear is that this is a little cerebral and it's not what she thinks her problem is. So think about that. Let's go to Mary Lou.
Okay.
Good question though. This is what it looks like to kind of work through that stuff. Make sure that you guys click the link in the chat box to go and book yourself onto that appointment. These are some of the things that we figure out in private circle. What's up, Mary Lou?
These have been all great questions that I've been hearing. Right. I'm struggling with the purpose of two screens and how I use them, or can you do one screen split? Because I'm trying to like redesign where I'm going to be doing my webinars in my office, and I'm going, how do you use these? Clearly they don't each. I'm guessing two screens means you have something on one screen and something on the other, something different on the other.
Can you see this?
No, I'm.
Can anybody see my camera? I can't see you guys, so I can't even see what
I'm trying to scroll through and get to your.
Well, this is what somebody highlight my video if it's not highlighted already. I don't know if maybe I can kill the screen share. Maybe that'll help. I use three. So
okay, so
you
use
don't
your
have to use
phone.
3. I'm going to tell you how to do this. Listen, there's another instructor who does webinars, and she teaches this class as well. And she flies off of one little laptop with one screen. The way that you do it is to hit advanced settings in Zoom screen share, and you can share a portion of your screen. She has everything on one like tiny laptop because she's a minimalist. I want all of the screens. If you don't want your extra screen, I'll take it, right? Because I want my Zoom like you guys to be over here. I need my chat box to be as far out of my view as possible while I'm presenting, because otherwise people say stuff and it throws me, right?
Okay.
I want to have presenter view. Whenever you go to Canva or Google Docs, you can use what's called presenter view. You hit that button and it creates a small little window, a version of your presentation that you can put in front of you, and you can have notes by it. And then on the other monitor, it is the presentation itself. So you can actually share that screen. That's what goes out when I'm sharing screen. I like having 3. I think 1 plus, most people fly off of 2 screens. You can do 1. That stresses me out. So it just depends on what you want to do. But is it possible to do off of one single laptop screen? Yes, you can.
So one screen is you doing your presentation, what people see.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then another screen would be, you're saying the
presenter view,
box,
which is the mini version of the presentation that I can read my notes and stuff from, and then the other screen is y'all.
Okay, so the mini, I didn't understand the second one.
Presenter view. So
presenter.
Yep. When you go to Google Slides or Canva, go check out presenter view. And you'll see what I'm talking about. So you have full screen on one side, and then you have a little mini version where I can see what screen was last, what screen is next, and what screen am I on now, plus any notes that I would have made. But I don't want you guys to see where I have to remind myself, like.
Okay. So you're taking notes on one screen.
I don't read off of a script, but I put notes in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Check out presenter view. It'll make sense.
Okay. And then, so if I'm going to consider using the alternative to Zoom, will that be a whole different animal?
It will be slightly easier.
That's what I'm looking for. Easier.
Yeah, slightly easier.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Good question.
Thank you.
Very good. Let's go to Nicole. Everybody, I know our time grows short. I'll stay a few minutes late. It's totally cool. I don't know that we'll get to everybody, but I'll try to stay a few minutes late as long as they'll let me. Make sure that you hit that link in the chat box to go talk about Private Inner Circle. Nicole, what's up?
Hello. Thank you so much for a fantastic week.
Thank you.
I work primarily with sellers. And so are you familiar with Seller Shield?
Yes. Started in Austin.
Yeah. So that's something that I offer all of my VIP clients.
Okay.
I don't know that it would be the dangle to get people to the webinar.
I would test it. But, because remember, fear of loss, opportunity for gain. If I'm an S personality on the DISC assessment, I'm afraid nebulous, somebody's going to sue me, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big fear for sellers. They do this once in their life, a lot of them. And so I think I actually wondered about that before, how to sell your home without getting sued, or how to sell your home, something about avoiding, predatory buyers. Because now it's like, dun, 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 and it's real. Seller Shield has saved some butts before. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I test it. I think your instinct is good.
Okay, perfect. And then one question back to what the woman just before me asked, when you do the 3 screens, you said it's just expanding, how do you actually move it over out of the middle to the other side screens?
So I have a Chrome window that is my Canva.
Okay.
And then what I'll do is I'll hit presenter view. Presenter view will open up another little Chrome window that has a preview of the next slide, and it has my notes. That's the one that I have lined up with you guys so that I can read those notes and look down the barrel of the camera. And then the original screen, I make it full screen. So you guys you don't see an address bar or anything like that at the top. And then over on my far monitor, on monitor 3, I have Zoom, the participant panel, the chat panel, all that stuff. I keep chat out of my view so that I don't get distracted. You have a webinar, like somebody earlier was like, yeah, move on. Like that shit, that it will throw you. It will throw you. And if somebody says something, which, people rarely act up, but if somebody says something, it will tend to throw me. And then I'm like, what was I talking about? So I keep it far out of my view. Generally.
Okay. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
You're so welcome. Let's go to Larry. What's up, Larry? Larry, going once. Okay, let's go to Dre. Dre, it's going to ask you to unmute.
Yeah, hey, what's going on? Great class. I really appreciate the webinar, all the information you shared. Can you give us a breakdown of your tech?
A breakdown of my tech. Here's, everybody write down what your tech budget is for your first webinar. You got a note? You got a notepad? You got a pen? Here's what your tech budget is. Here's how much Brad will allow you to spend. $0. You have a laptop. That laptop has a microphone. Good enough. Why? Look at this. You know how much this thing is? $300. Do you need a baller $300 microphone? No, I treated myself after we called after we closed our 10th deal or whatever. I wanted a baller microphone, so I spent the $300. This is 60 buyer leads that I could have gotten into the webinar. In the beginning, where cash is not super plentiful and you need this to, it's like your output waiting for that cash to come back in the house. Don't spend a nickel. I spent the first 6 months doing doing webinars off of my headset that I got from Fry's Electronics for $6 12 years ago. I mean, honestly, it wasn't important. They don't care. They don't care. So I like my fancy microphone. I think it's awesome. I sound good, like Barry White or something. I like my 3 monitors, completely superfluous. Okay. Don't sweat it. That ring lamp, which my light isn't expensive. I think it's like $40. You could bring a lamp from the living room and put it behind your screen and do it. Take every dollar and put it back into lead gen. I hope that was slow, loud, and clear. Let's go to Luke. I have lots of opinions, you can tell. What's up, Luke?
Hi, how are you?
Hey,
we're asking about how long you think, first of all, we signed up on the masterclass, so we're excited about that. And thank you so much, Bradley, for this week.
You're welcome.
What do you think the lead time for your first webinar and advertisement should be? So I advertise for how long?
Oh, 4 to 7 days.
4 to 7 days.
I'm a sixer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what happens if few people show up?
What happens if few people show up?
It means you have 3. You have 2. You have 1.
It means we did something wrong. So usually means that we did something wrong. So either we tried to go up against Cowboys. We tried to go the Cowboys game is what I mean. Like something where people sign up and then they go, oh no, I'm not going to that thing, right? There's seasonal dips and show up, by the way. Like fourth quarter, like Christmas time is really hard to get people to show up. You think you're doing something wrong. It's just they're busy, You'll catch a lot of those people on the replay. Does it mean that you should stop advertising? No, but I'd probably dial down my advertising budget and then wait and, like January, this is make hay while the sun's shining because holidays are over. There aren't any more distractions. It's not fun cold. It's just cold. And so people show up because there's not a whole lot else to do. And leads are cheap right now too. So this is like make hay while the sun's shining. Yeah.
Another stupid question. If everybody starts doing this, does it lessen the bang? Meaning that if 10 people start going, hey, come to my webinar.
I think you just need to make sure that your message, if you ever saw your results decline, go and tweak your message. So, when I look at my numbers on Facebook, it's so laughable how few people I actually hook into the webinar based on how many people are out there. So I kind of was worried about that too, like coming from a place of scarcity, well, what happens if somebody else is across town? They're running a web. Literally, there are 1.5 million people in this town, and my reach for my ad campaign was, 20,000. And then I got a certain number of those people to click on the ad, a certain number of those people to go to the website. That leaves 99.9% of the metro. And so all you have to do is make sure that you're saying something a little bit different. And even if you were going for the same avatar, it doesn't mean you say the same thing, right? You want to play on a different concern that those people have. So you have to come at it from a place of, like Eric just said, thoughts of abundance. Actually, that's exactly.
I love that. And last but not least, can this be done by a mailer? Let's say you're going after a niche, out-of-state owners, and you want to say, hey, let me get you out-of-state owners who are renting your houses. Let me talk about how today rent controls come in and blah, blah, blah. And now you say, hey, can you go to this And then when they click on the ad, I could do a video. And then that video goes, hey, blah, 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 come to my webinar. Yeah.
So I think maybe we're going A to B to get to C when we can just go A to C. So I think just instead how we can do this a lot more affordably and faster, because there's a lot involved. Now I got to get the mailer. They got to look at the mailer. They can't just put it in the trash, and now they got to hit a QR code and then all that stuff. So you could go buy the lists and then have them skip trace, get their phone numbers and their emails. We're not going to call them, but we can create a custom audience upload in Facebook and then tell Facebook, go find these people. And then it will only pay to advertise to those folks. And it will capture usually between 40 and 60% of the audience if the phone numbers and emails are good. It won't find
every custom what?
Custom audience upload. And all you have to do is put your hand in the air and swear that you didn't discriminate whenever you got it. You may have to like run a couple of campaigns before it like ungrays the option to add custom audience upload, but it'll give you the rights to do it, at least.
Can you do that city centric so I could get my title to pull out or something and then go after?
But then you've got to skip trace those addresses for phone numbers and emails, and that's probably going to cost you about a few cents a piece, maybe 10 cents.
A piece. We've done it before.
10 to 20.
Yeah.
Thank you for the love.
Hey, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Absolutely. Let's go to Christina. Oops, Christina, I accidentally muted you. You were already, there you go. What's up?
For you, and thank you so much. This week has been amazing. That you mentioned skip tracing, and I'm one of the new agents in the group. Can you recommend any tools that we can utilize for skip tracing? And then the other one is I did write it down. Are the videos recording from this week's challenge the ones that we are going to have access to?
Yep. So the recordings inside VIP are forever. So the community wall shuts down, I think, after Sunday. We're like asking questions and giving each other high fives and all that stuff in there. But the resources and the video archives are forever. So yes, you'll still have access to those. And it's the ones from this week. It's not just like from a different challenge or something. Skip tracing. What is skip tracing? Where would I go? Used to be more expensive than it is now. Check out DataZap. Check out, gosh, I can't remember. It depends on what piece of data you already have. If you have their mailing address, different services are better at finding phone numbers or emails. Sometimes you have to like get the phone number and then go skip trace again for the email. If you have those two pieces of information and the name and the address, high likelihood, 60% chance Facebook will find them. All right, let's go to your realtor, Tina B. Make sure that you guys hit that link in the chat box to book yourself onto an appointment. This is the kind of nerdy stuff, by the way, that we're all sharing inside of the private one-on-one inner circle school community. Like, you want to really meet the nerds? that's where we hang out. What's up, Tina B?
Hey, don't you love the name? That's my email address too. But hey, so I was just wondering, I know this is your primary source of lead generation, or in the beginning, did you do multiple sources to see what worked?
So I do, I'm a co-owner in a company that I helped somebody build for 14 years. And we had lots of different sources. We had radio leads, we had TV leads, we had pay-per-click leads, we had everything. And then I, 2 years ago, found the webinar leads. And I knew as soon as I laid my eyes on it, I was like, this is it. And so I did it. I built it as big as I could in that company. And then we sort of like had a different visions about how to move forward. And I really wanted this to be everything, and I wanted to run it. And so we're totally cool. But we're hanging out tomorrow, as a matter of fact. But I spun it off into its own company. And so this is the only thing that we do, the only thing that my company does.
Just add on to that. Like, I will tell you that I know the power of video works, because when you talk on video, people see you as an expert. And it's funny, you talked about, when people watch you on video, you become the expert. People have told me for years, family, friends, you just need to get in front of the camera, because once you get in front of the camera, people will draw to you. And I didn't believe it until you said it. So just kudos to you.
It was really uncomfortable. And then it's like, wait a minute, I'm teaching, I'm giving value, crazy thing. I'm not asking for anything from anybody, and people respect it more and respond to it more. All right. Let's let's do this. I've never stayed this late before. I've never stayed past 7:06. I'm going to stay with you guys to get these questions answered. Okay. So we're going to party. So make sure though that we got to keep them quick, and click that link that's in the chat box so that you guys can book onto your discussion, your application, so that you can get your into that private one-on-one inner circle program. Not having deals is more uncomfortable. That's exactly right, Daryl. That's right. What do they say? Choose your hard. Choose your hard. Okay. What's up, Martin?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you very much for everything that we've been learning this week. Quick question. You were talking about ISAs, and you like to hire licensed ISAs. The question that I have for you is, do they have to be licensed in your state, or can you work with licensed realtors, but they could be from other states? Maybe
it would be,
say that's much slower.
That's an easy one. Yeah. It has to be licensed where the clients are, where we're going to practice. Yeah. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me to hire a licensed New York realtor to talk to my Texas people. That would be out of compliance, at least where I am.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yep. Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Okay. Let's go to Robert. Robert, what's your question?
Yes. I'm a MLO and a real estate agent in California, so I can do both things on the same transaction. California requires every buyer's agent to inspect the home that they're going to bid on. So I don't want to do that. So I need to bring in another realtor. So if I'm doing a webinar, I develop the client, obtain them, pre-qualify them, they're ready to go. I really need to sort of co-agency with another agent rather than getting a referral fee, because that would run afoul of the settlement service provider giving me a referral, I would think. What would be a fair split, do you think?
Okay, so I don't think that referral from another agent or from another agent would run afoul of RESPA, because it just doesn't. And I was thinking about what the basis for the exception is. I don't know if it's because we're the same class of provider, but referrals are A-okay between agents is what we know.
Okay.
In terms of like, I think I would refer you to state compliance for, does it have to be an agent whom I contract with in my brokerage to go and inspect the home? Or can it be any licensed realtor? I don't know what the rule is there. But bottom line is, if you hand someone a client that is inside of your brokerage, so you're the broker, you're providing broker services and all of those things, then I would recommend a 30 split to them and a 70 split to you, because it's not just the lead that you're putting on the bone for them. If you are referring these out of house, then depending on how far you get them, you're probably looking at maxing out at 40 to 50.
Okay.
Easy enough.
All right. Thanks.
Let's go to Todd.
Hey.
What's up, Todd?
What's up?
Hey.
So first off here, I got to get in a little close for you so you can appreciate this one. My first takeaway is that I thought Magnum PI was my inspiration for my mustache, but I think I found a new inspiration, buddy. So, no, but hey, I really appreciate everything you've done here, man. And really for me, I guess I'm just of the opinion, do what you do best and hire the rest. So I've joined the group. I've tried to put webinars together. I've been basically grinding for 23 years where I just call and dial, and the chase sucks. Like, especially this last year. I mean, this was just brutal. You got to text message people 25 times before they'll talk to you on the phone. And I'd rather just, host webinars while I'm on vacation and spending time with my family on Wednesday and Thursday nights. So it's exciting.
Good.
So I
excited.
appreciate it, man. So yeah. So one quick question for you though, is my brother is a loan officer.
Okay.
Do you have any presentations where agents were working with an LO inside the presentation itself or the webinar?
So yes, inside that webinar vault, there's one where it's a husband and wife realtor couple who are on one camera. They're in Texas. And then they have on another camera from a different location, a loan officer. And this is one of the ones that I say, like, hey, that's an example of good co-hosting where they actually have chemistry. They don't step on each other's toes, and it totally works because the husband and wife are a little bit introverted. The loan officer is a little bit more engaging, and it just works. So yes, go check that out.
I'll check that out. All right,
Cool.
sounds good. And
Very
then
good.
one other quick question for you with this. Do you have other people using this for like recruiting, say across the country?
So
with like
the
building
answer
real
is
estate teams?
there are recruiting webinars. The wider the net on recruiting, I found, is probably better because here's what happens when you go with a live webinar in your community is you, for brand new agents, they don't care, okay? But if I have a live webinar, I'll get signups for recruiting, but the challenge that I ran into is confidentiality. You know, Jim starts second guessing, should I show up to Todd's webinar because Andrea could be there.
Right.
And she works for the other broker. She knows my broker, and there's that whole confidentiality thing. And so it gets a little bit weird. I haven't figured that out.
I gotcha.
But
Okay.
I've seen people like recruit for EXP versus via a national webinar and have that work.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Check it out.
Awesome. Thanks,
All right.
man.
Let's go, Sherry. Make sure that you guys hit that link in the chat box to book yourself onto that call to talk about the private one-on-one Inner Circle program so that we can get you moving up big time. Sherry, real quick, we got to go fast.
So during the process, you suggested asking for referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I know in the process, you have text messages that go out to people that didn't watch the webinar to give them the chance to watch the replay. What's your thought of sending out a text message to people that did attend to forward the link to anybody they know that would benefit, and they could watch the replay? And then if they do book an appointment, you have a place where they can say, this person referred me.
Test it. Yeah, test it. Like,
Is
if
it
they
really
didn't,
hard to set up in the system for that text to go out?
nope, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Yep. You just go add another step to that automation. That would be easy.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you for this week. It was great.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Sherry. What's up, Paul? Paul, shows you unmuted, but I don't have a microphone on yet. It might be physically turned off at the AirPod or at the switch. Give you another second. Oh, you figured that out. I'm going to go to Maria. What's up, Maria?
Hi, quick question.
Sure.
And I apologize because I know you answered this question like 3 times, but somehow I missed it. So what is the advantage of being a mortgage loan officer in addition to a real estate agent?
Picking up BIPs. Do you know what BIPs are? Basis points. It's basically like if you get your license, and you got to remember, depending on where your feet are planted, there could be some rules. There are states that have aggressive mortgage branches or mortgage governance departments. And then there are states like Texas where it's like pew, pew, pew. As long as the NMLS is good, we're good, right? So we have the ability to do that. Check if you do. But it's like, oh, and here's another big thing. You know, you're not supposed to talk about interest rates. You're not supposed to talk about zero down programs. Not really. And so unless you have a mortgage license. And so the more you can, now it's kind of a double-edged sword because now you have a disclaimer as long as your arm, right? Whenever you go out there with your mortgage license. But so my ads are really, like, all the disclaimers and stuff are really long, but now I can go say whatever I want to say. And, you know, I know a lot of that stuff, and I love the numbers. I love the programs. I love zero down. I love calculating payments, which 99% of realtors are terrified to do. They scare it out of us. So it kind of leaned into what I was good at already. So my marketing's better, and now I get to get paid twice on some deals.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you.
You bet. That was a good question. Come on. Steve, what's up?
Hey, brother. Great job. Question about targeted ads or for the ads. So 2 options. We got our first webinar launching Thursday. And instead of doing first-time home buyers or move-up buyers, because I like the sophisticated buyer a little bit more, I'm on the lending side. Do you find that it's better to be specific, first-time home buyer, move-up buyer, or to say home buyer?
Be more specific if you're fishing for a specific type of avatar. Yes.
Well, what made me think about it last night, you said first to the money. First-time home buyers are ready to move faster and move up home buyers.
Well, for me, right? So you know, I like them because they're like, I have really good success with those folks. I speak their language, and I can make them trust me really quickly because they should, because, you know, I'm good at what I do. It's not just because like, oh, I can close them or whatever.
Right.
But like, you know, their results will be better if they go with our company. Even if we refer them out to somebody else, we basically have the deal put together for somebody to go put over the fence, you know? So I love it. And I love the messaging. I love the payoff. It's not as lucrative like per commission, but it's my jam. Now,
so first time home buyers, you're driving more traffic, identifying the person as opposed to home buyer.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm calling you out.
Calling them out. It's the call out.
Nervous renter. Yeah. Like a lot of my ads, I'll put like, I tested some new video ads and I'll put like this big, like Batman splash across the screen that says like DFW renters.
Right.
Because I want to go, look, you. Yeah. I think you think about what your target avatar is, go ahead and like identify give her a name.
Sophisticated buyer. Yeah.
But what does that mean? Right. What does sophisticated mean? Think about price range and think about write this down. If you're going to write anything I say down, it's this.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does she think her problem is?
Right.
Right now, what does she think her problem is? She might be telling herself that's a story that, you know, she can't do it because jumbo rates suck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So think about what does she think her problem is? Y'all make sure that you hit that link.
Appreciate you, bro.
Your appointment so you can talk about the private one-on-one inner circle program. That's how I keep going. Is that I get to keep going if I keep reminding you about that. We're going to take Jim, we're going to take Andrea, and then we got to go. I got to go kiss my kids and get something to eat. I've been standing forever. What's up, Jim?
Hey, Bradley, thanks for a great week. This was literally life-changing, and I learned so much. Quick question. After they've spent an hour with you on the webinar and they think you're awesome, how do you and when do you hand them off to a buyer agent or someone on your team that's actually going to meet with them, drive them around, and get them a house?
So here's what it looks like for us. We refer most of the deals, probably 2 out of 3, if we can't slam dunk it on the phone. So, you know, with first-time home buyers in particular, in Texas where I am, there's just like the builders are kicking ass and taking names. And it's because they can offer a 3.99. And so there are a lot of people who have like a $2,000 a month payment tolerance. And I'm like, I got one house for you. And it's not me being lazy. It's just that I know what the numbers are and I know what she should go buy. And so I'll say, hey, I've got somebody. I don't even have to go. So we sell a house over the phone. We did it twice this week. So that's probably, you know, that's a big part of our production. Obviously, we get to keep 100% of the commission on those, which are great. And some of those commissions are really juicy because it's the builder. But the rest of them, you know, I basically I'm what I call myself a control enthusiast. So I'm going to have this person pre-qualified before I ever hand her off to an agent. The promise of my company is that I hand off pre-screened appointments, credit verified appointments. So somebody's at least had a soft pull and I at least know that their FICO 4 is over, you know, a certain amount. And so so it involves us keeping that client for usually a day. Because remember that if you do the webinar right and they trust you and they think you're awesome, when you get on that call, they go, what do you want me to do, Jim? Like, tell me what to do next. And if I go, I just texted you a link, go fill it out, they return it same day usually. Now, the only time that doesn't happen is if I'm talking to one spouse and the other spouse, I haven't met them yet. Now I got to go chase the second decision maker and I got to go make them fall in love with me because otherwise I'm not going to get that loan app. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer on couples, but singles always return it same day.
Okay, so it's after the pre-qual with your lender.
That's what I handle.
Then you have a conversation with them.
You can charge more for it. Because if I were just like, you know, if I say something that was important to the people who I send these deals to is that I didn't anticipate was, yes, I credit verify them so that you know that they self-report at least this much income. We've seen their credit score, which is what most realtors care about. It's a credit score, right? But then the next thing I said is, and also I've set the expectation with them that before I put them on your calendar, Jim, they know that you're going to be asking them to sign some paperwork at the first meeting. And
you
for
call
some reason,
the client and tell them, hey, Joe Smith is going to be calling you from my team, or do you let Joe Smith just call them?
No. So the deal that I have, so I have contracts with the agents that I send this to. They're not even on my team. So they're with different companies. They have to, by our service licensing agreement, keep their calendars up to date. If you call me and tell me, oh, I saw you booked that appointment, but I've got a haircut, we have a problem. because now I have to go back to that client and go, oh, just kidding. Like, you have to keep your stuff in order. And usually they'll mess up one time, and after they do that with me, they snap to. So
okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. All right, make sure that you guys click that link. This has been so much fun. I can't believe I'm staying a half hour late. Andrea's going to bring us home with a crazy good question and a super strong. Click that link in the chat box to book yourself onto that private one-on-one Inner Circle call. What's up?
Hey, Bradley. Thank you for an awesome week. So I live in a retiree community.
Okay.
60% of our demographic are retirees from higher tax states, California, Texas. They're coming over here because of our low property taxes. They're selling their $2 million home in California, buying here. So I'm listing heavy.
Okay.
Yes, we've helped first-time home buyers. There's just not as many. A lot of our younger demographic, they can't stay here because the jobs aren't here, because we're retiree, there's restaurants, that kind of jobs. So is it worth it for me to just know I'm going to have maybe less leads, but they're going to be bigger ticket leads to do the seller downsizing avenue?
So I think, I mean, if it were me, I would just go bigger on the webinars. I mean, like, if you want to have the same kind of results in terms of show up as a buyer webinar at, $500, you're going to need to spend $3,000. But that $3,000 webinar, and I know that that's like, especially if you've never run ads before, but that $3,000 webinar, the last one, because I don't like doing sellers, so I just did one a few months ago just to show everybody that yes, I could. I threw a presentation together. I made some stuff up about, it wasn't making it up. It's like, what I thought was important in terms of selling your home for more money. Would a listing ninja actually say those same things were the biggest 5 mistakes or the 5, ways to make more money? I don't know. I'm not the best lister. So my presentation, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10, to be honest. If I'm critiquing myself, my $3,000, I booked 7 listing appointments. So if you can close, more than $3,000.
So we'd be going after sellers who moved here and now they need to sell their house because their spouse died or something happened. They're alone. They want to downsize. So it could end up being a sell buy also.
Yeah, right.
But to target those downsizers.
Right. So, here it's not a super solid financial model for me because listings in Texas suck. Like, it's terrible here.
My sister-in-law just moved here from there. Yes.
Did she?
No.
Yeah. Like I can't convert cash fast enough by booking listing appointments for a really good listing agent, because that listing is going to sit on the market. If it sells at all, it's going to be there 3 to 6 months, and I can't build a business on that.
Do you find those retirees in that age demographic are on their phones, on Facebook? We're talking.
There's kind of a
78-year-olds.
Once you cross 70, it gets a little weird because they are on Facebook all day, but they're afraid to click on stuff. So if, test it out, maybe you do a smaller one and just know that, hey, if I run $500, I'm only going to have a handful of leads. I might have a couple of people in that room, but I'm not, at least I'm gathering data, to see like what the actual take rate was when somebody clicks on my ad and how many of those people actually fill out the form. And keep in mind, the data is not perfect because your pixel's still learning. It's not totally trained to find sellers yet. It's figuring it out. It gets better over time, but you're not going to find out without testing. But those are, to your point, those are big ticket commissions, and often they're 2 firsts. And so it's a little spending money to make money. So,
good.
Yeah. And if you find that the 70-year-old is not taking the bait, we got to figure out where their adult child who's handling things lives. Okay.
California.
Got it.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm so sorry. I got to go. I've never stayed half an hour late. I've never stayed more than 7 minutes late, as a matter of fact. I hope this was fun for you, but it was great for me. If I could do this all the time, I wish. I would not be a married person if I did this every week, but I appreciate the fact that I get to spend this time and do this class every now and then. Thank you very much. Good luck. Make sure that you are talking to us about that private Inner Circle program, because that's the way to go up, up, and up. But with this, I leave you, and I am sad to say, I'm happy to say, I'm sad to say, you're complete. You're graduated. Congratulations. Thanks for hanging in there with me for the extra time. That was fun for me, answering all of your questions. I am excited to hear all about your webinars. Go get them, and let's talk. See y'all later. Bye. And thank you, team. Thank you, team, especially for staying late.